Welcome, Derbyites, to yet another Emmys season, really. It's really now all beginning tonight on this September 11, 20 years after that horrible day in New York City. I just wanted to send my condolences and regards to everybody who was affected by that, and obviously everyone in the States who is remembering that horrible day. But apart from that, on a much more lighter note, we're here to talk about and celebrate the best in TV. And tonight is the first night of 3 ceremonies for the Creative Arts Emmy Awards, what I like to refer to as the Shmemmys. And I think, tonight is very exciting. We've got some really interesting categories to talk about. And I am so lucky that I have with me 3 of the best, and all on the East Coast. We've got Kevin Jacobsen, we've got Daniel Montgomery, and David Buchanan. Guys, it's so great to see you. Welcome.
You too.
You too.
Good to be here.
Now, when we've also got a whole bunch of people in the chat room, really, really exciting. The first award of the night, by the way, everybody, is going to be main title design. And I want to go to Kevin because he wrote a really interesting article about this, didn't you? And what are your thoughts? It's a really awesome category. I always love this category every year.
I love this category. I love watching all of them. What's actually funny about this is that, because I watched all of them, they're all so good that it sort of made everything less clear for me what's actually going to win. Because you would think WandaVision, The Queen's Gambit, Lovecraft Country, these shows that do so well in the other nominations, they would have a leg up. But having written about this category for a few years now, this is not a category that really rewards those kinds of shows that much. They rewarded Godfather of Harlem last year. They rewarded something like Counterpart, which only had the 1 nomination. So it really could be any of these. There's 3 shows here that this is their sole nomination, like The Good Lord Bird, Raised by Wolves, and Between the World and Me, which are all fantastic. So this is going to be really tough. What I actually found out is that the WandaVision main title design is just the end credits. It's not necessarily all the new intros for every episode. So I don't know if that will affect things. The fact that it's an end credits rather than main credits. Same thing with Queen's Gambit. That's also end credits. So it genuinely is anyone's game. But
it really is. And so it's good that you mentioned that. It's not one of those interesting 1950s or 1960s WandaVision kind of credits that they have at each of the beginning of the episodes. Right. It's the end credits, which is more like a Marvel type end credits that you would see in all the various movies, and Loki as well. Okay, very interesting. So have you got a pick for who you think will win that?
I genuinely, first of all, not to hedge my bets, but literally all 6 of them could win because there's a precedent for all of them, literally including Lovecraft Country, which only has the 1 zooming in intro thing, because Stranger Things has also won this category. So genuinely any of them. If I had to guess, just because I like the creativity of it, I like The Good Lord Bird, but genuinely... No idea.
What about you guys? I'll go to you first, David. What do you think? Who do you think will win? Do you think will win this one?
I would have voted for The Good Lord Bird myself too. So when I was ranking them, I have that either in second or third because I think they do really respond to just what they think is genuinely the best title credits. So that's my second or third. I'm predicting WandaVision because it seems like, whether they know it's just the end credits or they're just thinking back on it, that seems to really stand out. But I also think Between the World and Me is so evocative of what just won last year. They have a very similar style, visual style to the credits. So I have that up in second or third as well because, I don't know if anybody expected Godfather of Harlem to win last year, but I had it ranked lower, but it was my favorite. So I don't know. We'll see.
What about you, Daniel?
I'm going WandaVision sort of by default. Like Kevin said, this category is not doesn't necessarily go to the most popular show with the most nominations. but I'm a little bit rooting for Lovecraft Country because I feel like that show is at risk of like 18 nominations, and it was canceled, I believe, before voting for winners started. So I'm worried that people might have just given up on it, and I do not want to see this thing go 0 for 18 over the next 8 days. So if we could get this one in, that would alleviate my worry there. Like it would get at least 1 out of 18 if it wins this.
Yeah,
But, I'm going WandaVision sort of by default. And because it, even if voters aren't considering it, or if it's not the thing that they're rewarding, the openings of each episode, the unique openings, do stand out. A lot of people might think that's what they're voting for.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if people realize it's the end credits for WandaVision, they're actually really good. And Christoph Beck's theme is also incredible, and the way that they mix is so beautiful. I actually think Raised by Wolves is the strongest contender in this category. Unfortunately, it got no other nominations. I was quite a big fan of that show, but apart from that, it's got breathtaking main title sequence. So we'll see what happens there. But generally speaking, this doesn't really mean much for the primetime Emmys. I remember when Stranger Things won, which was kind of, let's be honest, a little bit ridiculous. I was being told, oh, Stranger Things is going to win everything on the primetime Emmys, and people thought it was a big omen, and that didn't actually end up happening. Handmaid's Tale actually ended up winning quite a few awards that night. So we'll see. I do want to mention, because I've seen on the in the chat room that people want to see the famous scoreboard. Now that is it's a patent that Matt Noble owns, and I would never dare to try to muscle in on that territory. So when Matt Noble hosts the next 2 shows, I'm sure he'll have some kind of scoreboard. I don't know for sure. Matt and I are both in lockdown here in Sydney. We can't do anything. We can't go anywhere. So he may not have it, but if he does, I'm sure he will have it all updated for tonight. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to talk freely. This is just a very easy night for us to get used to the whole Emmy process, and then we'll get more and more excited as the days progress. Okay, so I just wanted to put that out there. Now, while they're waiting for,
I will be keeping a running tally of, like, I just have like a document, a notepad open.
Yeah,
on the
I'll
computer.
be writing down the tally. So we will be talking about, on my very fancy piece of paper, what will win and what has won, so we can kind of work out maybe where the tea leaves are telling us that things are going to win. But generally speaking, I will not have a board. Now, while we're waiting for the winner, because I'm sure that's going to come through any minute, and I'll have to stop everyone talking so that we can talk about the winner. I'd like to know what are you most excited about for this whole Emmy season? Is there something that you're just obsessed about and you want to see win, or you want to see happen? You first, David. What do you think?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me as a big Hacks fan is to see some Hacks victories, maybe a surprise in the next day with a guest actress win. It just, for a show that came out so late into the Emmy season, it kind of took everybody by surprise that it's such a great contender. And I'd love to see it take some major prizes, aside from Jean Smart, who I think we all are probably betting on at this point.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I'd love to see that show win a lot of awards. I think Hannah Einbender is actually in for a potential upset for the other Hannah Waddingham in that category. What about you, Daniel?
I mean, like I mentioned before, I want to see Lovecraft Country do well. That show was near and dear to my heart before they canceled it, which honestly didn't even make me that sad because it felt like they told a full story in that first season, and it stands really well on its own. I'm glad it got not so many nominations. I really hope it goes home with some awards. I hope it goes home with an award for Michael K. Williams, of course, who died this past week. And I thought that was the case before he passed away, but it would be so much more meaningful to his career and legacy now, especially as a tribute to him. So I'd love to see that. I do want to mention, I saw some questions in the chat room, people asking what exactly is happening in this event. These will be sort of the Creative Arts Emmys, the Shmemmys as Rob called them. For a lot of technical categories, nonfiction, animation over the course of the weekend. Tonight is going to be specifically crafts for mostly scripted comedy, drama series, movie limited series. So we'll be able to see how a lot of shows like WandaVision, The Handmaid's Tale, The Crown, shows like that, Ted Lasso will do in these races, and that could potentially give us a preview of what's to come. And we will be getting these winners reported to us by Chris Beecham, who, you know, we have a whole command center thing going on here, so we'll be hearing from him officially, and then we will report that to you as soon as we hear from him. And fingers crossed for Lovecraft Country again. I will probably say that several times tonight.
Okay. And what about you, Kevin?
I'm just really excited for how these limited series categories are going to shake out, because I feel like so much of the best of television is in these limited series categories. More and more each year, it feels like these are the most exciting races. And with so many great and like 15 to 23 nomination total shows here, with WandaVision and Mayor of Easttown and The Queen's Gambit and I May Destroy You and The Underground Railroad. I mean, these are literally 5 of the best shows that came out last year, and I'm excited for the big war here. I hope it's not just like what happened with the precursors, where The Queen's Gambit literally sweeps everything and there's just no suspense. I think now with greater competition, I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm excited to see if Emmy voters will actually embrace Marvel and Disney Plus in a major way, especially with acting categories, because
Yeah,
you know, it's Marvel, it's superheroes.
that's right. Will they actually, is it going to be like another Oscars? The Oscars have been always traditionally very reluctant to honor Marvel, apart from Black Panther, and that was more of a cultural phenomenon, which is why it broke through. At the Emmys, I think the Emmy voters are way less snobbish when it comes to sci-fi, fantasy, superhero genre, and we saw that with Watchmen, which won so many awards for HBO. Hopefully that will bode well for WandaVision, and then hopefully next season for Loki, and also this season, Falcon and the Winter Soldier did quite well. So we'll see what happens. So there's some questions here. So yes, Chris Beecham does have the Electoral College night ready in the studio. You can decide whether he's that really cool guy from MSNBC, or the more stoic guy from CNN, or the crazies from Fox News. It's completely your call, depending on your perspective and political persuasions. There is an order for categories tonight, Corey Williams. Good question. So once we're done with main title design, we'll be moving on to hairstyling, and that they are going to be announced by Paris Jackson in the ceremony that we're going to see next week in an edited version on FXX. But right now we're waiting for Alex Borstein to hear about, to announce the winner of main title design. I'm just going to pull that up on my screen so that we can just go through the nominations. So give us a moment and I'll do that. Here we go. So the nominees for main title design are Between the Worlds and Me, The Good Lord Bird, Lovecraft Country, The Queen's Gambit, Raised by Wolves, and WandaVision. So any minute now we will see what show will win the first Emmy of this very exciting season. Then we'll move on to hairstyling and we'll go through those nominees as well. No, nothing has won yet. So, yes, and also Mel Kubrick made a good point. The reason why we have 3 shows for the Emmys is because we simply just could not have all of the categories announced in one ceremony. That would be crazy. That would be a complete violation of the Geneva Conventions, which is obviously the Conventions Against Torture. And we just can't, no one could possibly do that. And I mean, they could probably just rattle off some winners' names and move on, but that's really not very fair to all the nominees who are all so excited to be honored by their peers in the Academy. So we have 3 ceremonies so that it can be spaced out and people can enjoy the night and then go home, and then it starts all over again. And then, of course, we have the big show next weekend, which is airing live on CBS and also streaming on Paramount+. So it looks like we're still waiting for main title design.
Long intro, whatever's happening.
It's a long intro. Maybe Alex Borstein's probably tap dancing. She's probably doing some voiceover work. I don't know. She's wonderful. That reminds me, I'm waiting for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel to come back. Hurry up. What's taking so long? So look, while we are sitting here just stalling for that first winner, there's a really important question that I need to ask, and it is this. what on earth is going to win limited series? Like, seriously, that is giving me a little bit of heartburn because it seems like WandaVision's out front, but I don't know. What do you think? Daniel, tell me.
I'm tentatively going with WandaVision. It has the most nominations of any limited series, and not just that, it has them in all the categories you want. Acting, writing, directing. Those 3 writing nominations just are so huge to me. Casting, which is the category I'm going to be looking for, which I believe will be handed out tomorrow. Whatever wins casting is probably what I'm going to predict for best limited series, depending on how the rest of these awards go over creative arts, because that category is often very telling of what the Television Academy really likes in the top field. And every nominee for best limited series those are the nominees for best casting. So that will be a very, very important, more than usual bellwether. But then again, if WandaVision loses casting but wins like 11 other times over the course of the weekend, that might still be enough for it to win ultimately in the end. So it'll depend, but casting's going to be huge.
Yeah. What about you, Dave? Do you agree?
I don't know yet. I do have, to Daniel's point, I have it just of the 36 categories we're talking about tonight. I have it winning the most of any show tonight. I'm predicting 5 wins for WandaVision tonight. And if it does extremely well over the whole weekend, it will be hard to not predict it. I have the Queen's Gambit still kind of, in kind of fluid second place. I do think where Mare is going to be competitive is in actress. I wish we would, have some more tea leaves to figure out, where some of those races would shake out. I guess by tomorrow, with casting, we'll have a better idea. But I'm kind of struggling with what to put first and second right now. But definitely, just WandaVision is going to have a huge weekend. I think that's for certain.
Yeah, I'm very excited. As a WandaVision nut, I'm very excited about just embracing and seeing the whole Academy embrace probably my favorite show of the year. Kevin, you've already mentioned how you're excited about limited series generally. Mm-hmm. What do you think will actually take out the big prize next weekend?
I still just have the Queen's Gambit. I think the Emmys are continuing to be more populist probably than ever. And that just really just had the zeitgeist. Even people you would never expect to be interested and watch a show about chess were watching this show. So I really think there's such a crossover appeal for that show that it also has a little bit of that like prestige factor to it. It's a very classy endeavor, which is where I wonder if maybe WandaVision could run into a slight bit of trouble. Maybe people feel like Mare of Easttown is a little too, pulpy and has been done before sort of thing. The Queen's Gambit really just became like this organic, rolling thing that just really went way beyond probably anyone's expectations for people who did that production. So.
Isn't it interesting, and we've talked about this before in other slugfests, that like before WandaVision came out, and maybe like late last year, the Queen's Gambit was everything. Everybody was just talking about it. It was going to win. It won Golden Globes and Critics' Choice and SAG and everything, and so we expected it to be the big winner. And then WandaVision came up and became quite a pop cultural phenomenon and really had saw Marvel break through. And then Mare of Easttown became a real talking point on social media, really did. Not to mention I May Destroy You, which was such a critical darling and has nominations in directing and writing and acting, including for Papa Essiedu, which was very, very surprising because he's really unheard of, let's be honest, and he's just so wonderful in that show. And then, of course, Underground Railroad, which was beautiful to look at, and it's got such a pedigree and people really, really responded to it. So that is the killer category of the night. And honestly, I could see 4 of the 5 winning. I think Underground Railroad is probably slightly behind the other 4, but I wouldn't be surprised to see any of the other 4 win, to be honest. And I'm still going with WandaVision because I just think it just seems like the safest bet, but I won't be surprised if it doesn't win. So let's actually go through the nominees for hairstyling while we wait. I think that's a really good point. I've just been given a message from Marcus, Marcus James Dixon. And so there are 3 categories there that are being announced as soon as main title design is over. And that is contemporary hairstyling, variety non-fiction or reality hairstyling, and then period character hairstyling. So let's quickly go through the nominations. And I just thought I'd also mention, there's some people asking, why are we not seeing the presenters? This is not the show. This is the Gold Derby nerds talking about the show. You will see the show in an edited format next weekend before the main show. And that is just generally what happens every year. We don't have the rights to stream the Emmys, but we certainly have the rights to talk about it. And frankly, we are the best on the internet. So why would you be anywhere else? All right.
We have the time and we have the unsolicited opinions.
Oh boy, do we ever. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So contemporary hairstyling, the nominees there, and I'm just going to stop as soon as I hear the winner for main title design, but we might as well just go through this. Good point, Marcus. Contemporary hairstyling, the nominees are, I'm just reading off my screen, Blackish, The Handmaid's Tale, Mayor of Easttown, The Politician, or Pose. Very interesting category. We'll talk about that in a second. Then we've got period or character hairstyling. The nominees are Bridgerton, The Crown, The Mandalorian, Ratched, or WandaVision. And then we have contemporary hairstyling for a variety non-fictional reality program. And those nominees are Dancing with the Stars, Legendary, RuPaul's Drag Race, Saturday Night Live, and The Voice. So, fascinating category. Wow, I'm really into these. This is really good. So, first of all, let's talk about contemporary hairstyle. Let's go through all 3. I want to know what you all think will win that, and I want to know why. And I'm going to go to you first, Daniel. Contemporary hairstyling, tell me.
Contemporary hairstyling, just looking at this list, me, of course, being a board-certified expert in contemporary television hairstyling.
Look at your hair.
Look at my hair. I did this myself.
By the way, I really think of all the people here, it should be David who's the hairstyling guru. But that's another story. Go on.
And speaking of that gesture, I think it's going to be Pose. It feels like Pose stands out very much from this list for me. Definitely has the showiest hairstyling of this group. It's contemporary, but it's on the borderline of period. That series finale, which is what it's specifically nominated for, took place in I think the mid to late 90s, which is within the contemporary boundaries for the Emmys. So I think that has an edge. Politician's also very stylish. Blackish, I think, won this last year. So I wouldn't count that out. But yeah, I'm gonna give the edge to Pose.
Okay, and do you agree, Kevin?
I do. I do think it's between Pose and probably Blackish as well. First of all, shameless plug, I talked to the hairstylist of Blackish who did that episode, and they did a huge amount of work, so it would not surprise me if they got another one. But Pose, I really think, just deserves it, and is just sort of, I don't want to say objectively because there's no such thing as that, but just the amount of work that goes into that show.
I'm going to interrupt you, Kevin. We have sorry to interrupt you. We have the winner for main title design. That winner is The Good Lord Bird. Very good win. Congratulations to the winners there for that Showtime limited series. The Good Lord Bird didn't do very well this Emmy season, unfortunately, really underperformed. But I'm so happy it's actually taking home something. And you know what? I'm surprised. I did not think that was going to happen. So congratulations to the Good Lord Bird.
And a good moment to remind everyone of the most baffling snub of Ethan Hawke for Best Actor in a Movie Limited Series, especially given how weird that category shaped up, where a lot of those programs like The Undoing, Hugh Grant, Halston, Ewan McGregor, those shows didn't have a lot of support overall from the Emmys. So it seems weird that an A-list star like Hugh Grant or like Ethan Hawke, giving as big and as acclaimed a performance as he did, didn't even get nominated. I'm still bitter. So
yeah,
this is the only time to talk about Good Lord Bird.
It's true, and it's really hard to fathom why it got snubbed. My theory is, and I don't have any scientific basis for this, but who cares? These days, people can make up whatever facts they like about science. My theory is that because of Hamilton just steamrolled through so many categories in the limited series and TV movie acting categories that Good Lord Bird and other shows of that kind of second tier caliber in terms of popularity seemed to have been pushed out. So, okay, any other comments about main title design that you guys want to mention before we move on completely to hairstyling?
Yeah, I'm thrilled that it won. We were just saying, I think, it's obviously subjective, but when you sit down and you watch them sequentially, just like one after another, that one was the most evocative to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually very angry that this is the second year in a row that my favorite won and I neglected to predict it. So that's too bad, but it's a terrific win. And I feel like that's a really good way to predict it in the future when you're, next year looking at these. Vote for what grabs you and is your favorite, because that's more than likely what they're voting on too.
That's a very good point. So I think, the best work tends to win here a lot. Maybe Stranger Things is an example of where that doesn't happen. No disrespect to the artisans who made that opening sequence, but here we are. So Roadshell makes a comment that they're done with Showtime. And you know what? I was thinking that the other day. When you look at the way that Showtime's nominations have really gone down in the last, say, 5-6 years, ever since back when Homeland was the big show in the drama categories, it is baffling to me because Showtime has some fantastic content. The Comey Rule, I think, should have been nominated in a few categories. So, that's very interesting. I think Showtime will probably... Okay, we have another winner. I think. No, we don't.
Yes, we do. I don't know if Chris has mentioned it, but I'm also on Twitter. The Television Academy has announced that Pose did win.
Contemporary hairstyling is Pose. Sorry, we're slightly behind the 8 ball. That's okay. Contemporary hairstyling is Pose. That's no surprise. We all saw that coming. Good on Pose. It's its first win of the night. And congratulations to those winners for the series finale. Really strong work there in contemporary hairstyling. Let's move on to the next category in hairstyling, because these are going to come thick and fast. So we've got Bridgerton, The Crown, The Mandalorian, Ratched, and WandaVision. Everybody, I just want you to give me your quick reason as to why you think something's going to win. You first, David.
I have Crown with Bridgerton in second place.
And Daniel?
Bridgerton, just sheer volume of hairs and wigs and all of that. And I interviewed this hairstylist, so that would be a win for me as well, technically.
Okay, and Kevin?
Yeah, The Crown. It's The Crown.
I think The Crown is actually going to win a lot tonight, even if people don't necessarily think it's deserving. And if we're going to go there, I interviewed the hairstyling people from The Crown. So no one cares who we interviewed, but that's okay. We'll mention it anyway. You know what? These are all really strong categories because you've got like Bridgerton, lots of those huge, big hair pieces. The Crown, you've got like iconic looks that we're all so familiar with, and they just did them perfectly. The Mandalorian, really interesting sci-fi fantasy stuff that are really interesting to me. Ratched, more period work that is not, it's a little bit more stylized than what you would expect for that particular period, which I really dug. And then WandaVision, completely batshit crazy, really fascinating work there and kind of more different to the others in this category. So who knows, guys? It's going to be a tough one. So we'll just wait and see what comes through on that one. I'm thinking that we're probably going to get an announcement any second because I can see Chris Beecham is typing in our control room. So I'm just going to wait. No, nothing yet. Okay, so let's keep going and talking while we wait. In variety, nonfiction, or reality, you've got 2 shows about people in drag or people who are in the transgender community, Legendary and RuPaul's Drag Race. You've got Dancing with the Stars, which is a really glitzy and glamorous reality show with lots of different hairstyles. You've got Saturday Night Live, which does a lot of kind of political work and also some really fascinating and funny characters. And then, of course, you've got The Voice, which is obviously more realistic hairstyling, people who are actually real singers up on a stage fighting for their lives so that they can win the prize and get a career. So get a career, that's not really English, but you know what I mean. It's Sunday morning here, so you've got to excuse my not even speaking English properly. Guys, I don't know what's going to win here. What's won in the past? Can anyone remind me? Do you know what generally tends to win in this category?
I don't know about tends to, but I'm pretty sure Dancing with the Stars has won this before. RuPaul, you think would be a popular choice here. I can't remember what its stats are specifically.
I'm looking now, and
Pork
they've
chop.
won the past 3 years. So
Has it? Okay.
yeah,
The pork chop is the first episode of the season. I've seen this whole season, so I can tell you that it's the first one. So you get to see all those queens and all their ridiculous hairstyles, ridiculous in a good way. I can't see it losing, to be honest. But Legendary has similar work. Obviously, it's about the ballroom culture. It's another, obviously, reality show on HBO Max, which I haven't seen, to be honest. And Dancing with the Stars, yeah, that's the finale. That's the big show with lots of really great hair there. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? Okay, so while we're waiting on those, with Pose winning that hairstyling win, I know it's a bit early for this, but I mean, does that bode well at all for Pose, or is that just one that was kind of a gimme for Pose? Who wants to speak on that?
I don't think there is a gimme for Pose. I think that's only the second Emmy it's won.
yeah, it hasn't won any craft.
That's a good point.
Billy Porter is so far the only Emmy for that show. So the fact that the show increased nominations this year and has already doubled its all-time awards haul is a good start. I think it has a shot throughout these Emmys. I think Billy Porter could win again. I'm predicting him. I think MJ Rodriguez has a shot for actress, even though Emma Corrin is the front runner there. I think it could win writing. It could be that finale that wins, like Friday Night Lights and The Americans. So I think it could do well. I don't think it's going to win drama, but I think it could end up with 2, 3, or 4 awards.
Yeah. Looks like Bridgerton has just won the Period Character Hairstyling Award, so
very nice.
Not a huge surprise there. Very good win for them. Congratulations to Bridgerton. Let's be open about this. That's the first loss for The Crown. A lot of people are expecting The Crown to really steamroll through a lot of these categories because it was just so beloved for its 4th season. And The Mandalorian and WandaVision also very high nomination tally, and both now have lost here. This is WandaVision's 2nd loss. I mean, being very glass half empty here. I'm sorry about that, but it's a fact. WandaVision has now lost 2 awards so far. Bridgerton, though, I think has, I could be wrong here, but it seems like it has the most hair. And generally the most.
I didn't even think about that.
It has such a, like, when I was researching to interview the hair designer, Mark Pilcher, who is now an Emmy winner, I was like, just looking at stills from the show, it's like, oh my goodness, like you would need a neck brace to hold some of that stuff up. It's like, it's the most elaborate stuff I've ever seen. So I don't think this is a bad sign for The Crown or WandaVision necessarily.
Yeah. Okay, so Dave, I want to hear from you now about hairstyling, because I unapologetically always say that you are the winner of the best hairstyling at Gold Derby. So I'd like to know what you think. Any surprises in those 2 categories so far, and what's going to win that reality one?
Pose, not a surprise. Bridgerton, I had in 2nd place in that category. I thought The Crown would take it.
But just to I'll let you keep talking.
Yeah.
We have another winner, Saturday Night Live. To me, that's a surprise. In fact, I'd go as far as to say it's a slight shock to me, because I really thought RuPaul was going to take that out.
I had that on my sheet here in 2nd behind Drag Race, so I'm not totally shocked. But
I wonder if.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I wonder if part of it is just having to do a live show, for however many episodes they did during COVID, really impacted that.
Totally.
Yeah, and you can never underestimate SNL and crafts categories, because they're doing so many characters in so many different sketches. So they're doing a wide variety every single episode. And we should say that every win for SNL tonight and throughout this weekend and next weekend will increase that show's record as the most awarded series in Emmy history. I forget where exactly it is. It's in the 80s. It's a high 80s or something like that over its 45 years. It's just going to keep piling those up.
Apologies, I'm going to move on to the next categories. We've got so many to get through tonight. The next category is interactive program. The nominees there are Create Together with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. God, I love him. Inside COVID-19, Space Explorers, the ISS Experience, and Welcome to the Blumhouse Live. Okay, interesting. I'm hoping that Joseph Gordon-Levitt can take home an Emmy here. What do you guys think?
I believe he's won before for interactive, for hit record. So he could do it. I feel like something with COVID in the title is just going to seem more important and have that sort of gravity to it. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it'll be the COVID nominee just for the important factor. That you'd be surprised how often that that is a successful prediction for some of these creative arts categories.
Even if you haven't seen it, it feels like
even if voters haven't seen it as well.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'm just trying to see if I can find the nominees for outstanding motion design. It doesn't appear to be coming up on my screen. So if anyone else has that,
that's actually a Juried award.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and innovation in interactive programming, I think, is also the same. So we might just wait and see what happens with those. But with interactive program, let's see what happens there. I don't know. While we're waiting, it looks like that was SNL's record 85th win. Okay, wow. Not too shabby, pretty good. And also, it looks like that a couple of people have mentioned that RuPaul's Drag Race has won that a few times. But before RuPaul became such a phenomenon, Saturday Night Live used to win that category quite often. So maybe not as big of a shock as I initially thought. So fair call there, pretty good. I don't agree that RuPaul's Drag Race was an undeserved winner. I think they can take credit for the queens there. A lot of what you see on that show is not the queens bringing stuff in a suitcase. It's stuff that's done by their in-house teams. Unless they're actually doing the styling on the table as part of a challenge, like a sewing thing or whatever, a lot of that is actually done by the show. That's my understanding. All right.
I have those juried. I did call up those juried winners. These were previously announced because they're juried category. So motion design is Calls from Apple TV Plus, and then innovation interactive programming is For All Mankind. Time Capsule, also Apple TV Plus. So they will be presenting those at this coming up.
Excellent. And Space Explorers won interactive program, so that's good. Someone had already mentioned that space shows tend to win this, and so there's another one for you. It's interesting that Apple TV Plus won those other two jury prizes. Good on them. They're becoming quite a force at the Emmys in such a short period of time, and frankly, I can understand why they have such really strong programming. All right, we're going to move on, guys, because you just never know how quick these are going to come through. Now we have the makeup categories. So there are three there. They're being presented by Rosalind Sanchez, and by the way, Kyle Clemens Hopkins was the person who presented the previous three categories. So I'm just going to quickly see if I can look up makeup categories so that we can talk about them. Here we go. All right, so let me just make sure that I'm looking at the right ones. So we've got period character, non-prosthetic, makeup contemporary, non-prosthetic, and then variety, non-fiction, or reality, non-prosthetic. Then we have we've got the prosthetic one afterwards. So let's just go through them quickly. All right, outstanding contemporary makeup, non-prosthetic. The nominees are Euphoria, love that show. The Handmaid's Tale, love that one too. Mayor of Easttown, love it. The Politician and Pose, really strong category there. I don't know what's going to win that one. That's going to be really difficult. I'm thinking probably Pose might have a good shot there, or Euphoria. Period and or character makeup, non-prosthetic. Making sure that's the right one. Yes. Halston, The Queen's Gambit, Raptured, Star Trek Discovery, and WandaVision. And then finally, the last category in this trio is, variety, non-fiction, or reality. And the nominees there are Dancing with the Stars, Legendary, Mariah Carey's Magical Christmas Special, RuPaul's Drag Race, and Saturday Night Live. Okay, so let's go to the first one. Contemporary makeup, non-prosthetic. What do you think, Kevin? What's going to win there?
I would guess, especially now that it won for hairstyling, that Pose could win this as well. Again, there's just so much makeup happening on that show. But Euphoria did win this last year. I think that's a possibility. Yeah, it could be any of these, but I do find the Mayor of Easttown one to be kind of funny. But That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. I guess I'm not really sure there either. I know that our colleague Luca and myself interviewed Burton LeBlanc, who's the makeup person from The Handmaid's Tale, and so I have a bit more knowledge only because I had to research it. And the makeup on that show is extraordinary. There's a lot of bruising and injury. The makeup is different depending on whether they're in Gilead as opposed to in Canada. So I really respect the work they do there, and maybe that might take it, but I have a feeling Pose's got this one too. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I have Pose and Euphoria as my two that I was toggling between, and I have Pose for some of the reasons Kevin was talking about.
Okay, Daniel?
Also Pose, for the same reason as Hairstyling. It's in contemporary. It's right on the edge of contemporary and period. So it really stands out. And Euphoria as the potential dark horse.
Okay, so while we wait, let's move on to the period and or character makeup for non-prosthetic. So I think there you've got Halston, Queen's Gambit, Ratched, Star Trek Discovery, and WandaVision. To me, WandaVision seems like the no-brainer, but I really would love to see Star Trek Discovery win this. I think the makeup on that show is incredible, and they probably have a better shot in prosthetic. What do you all think? Who knows more about this category than anyone else? I don't know a lot about it.
I would just say, I mean, I was very tempted to pick Star Trek, but historically, Picard had just lost, so that kind of put me off from any kind of fantasy sci-fi shows when I was looking through this list. So I don't know. That's my very small 2 cents on that.
Okay, very interesting. I wonder why the Mandalorian wasn't nominated, Gabriel. That's a good point. It's probably it's in prosthetic, so that's probably where, and it's also for the Jedi, which is the Rosario Dawson episode. So it's probably where it has a better shot. So, okay, while we're waiting on the winners, sometimes I'm seeing it in the chat room that people are saying something has won. I don't know whether that's actually true or not. So I'm just going to hold off until I get the official word. So just bear with us while we just make sure I don't want to say something won when it didn't. But it looks like that, we're going to have a winner any second now. So while we're waiting, does anyone want to speak to there's all these different makeup categories, right? And I don't know really how you judge contemporary makeup as opposed to period and or character makeup that are both non-prosthetic. I find that very difficult to judge. Anyone have a good idea there?
Not particularly, not being a makeup expert. There are a lot of distinctions at the Emmys that don't really make sense to me. Like, for instance, cinematography in a series versus a limited series or special. Like, you're basically honoring the same kind of crafts in those cases where you could theoretically nominate them in one category. But certain things like costumes and production design and makeup and hair, I do think it's fair to differentiate between something that's set in the modern day that would usually get pretty quickly eclipsed by a lot of shows that take place in the past, have these, elaborate costumes or makeup or hair effects. So.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been told that the Queen's Gambit won period and character makeup. Now, thanks to everybody who's telling us. I appreciate that the Twitter account is telling us first. There's only so many screens that we can look at. Just bear with us. Be patient. It's not the end of the world. No one will die. It's okay. Just another 3 or 4 seconds, and I'm sure we will all manage. So the Queen's Gambit won that one. Congratulations to Daniel Parker. That's fantastic for them. There's the first win for the Queen's Gambit. That's very exciting. Good on them. So let's just now wait and see what happens with contemporary makeup, non-prosthetic, and of course the one for reality. With the reality one, I think maybe Saturday Night Live could win that because it just won Hairstyling. But I would like to see RuPaul win that again. I think the makeup on that show is incredible. Of course, a lot of that makeup is done by the actual queens on the show and not necessarily by the team. So that's going to be hard for a layman to judge the winner there. Okay, so still waiting on the winners. Does anyone have any comments about these 3 makeup categories before we start talking about the next ones?
Also, I'm going with SNL for makeup, just because same reason I think it won the previous category for hairstyling. It's very, very showy and doing a lot of different characters and a lot of different sketches in one night. I'm pretty sure it's won this before.
I'm sorry that I keep interrupting you, Daniel.
No,
sorry.
fine. I'm happy for
Pose won contemporary non-prosthetic makeup. That's fantastic. Another win for Pose. So it's now completely obliterated its previous record of only ever winning for Billy Porter. And
it's the first show tonight to win more than one award. So everything else is sort of one piece.
Really, really
so
cool.
Put it on the metaphorical board.
Put it on the metaphorical board. Pretend that I've got one. Matt Noble's busily working away at that board for tomorrow. But you know what? Like, that's so cool for Pose. Obviously, with its final season, it's come roaring back at the Emmys, and I think this actually bodes well for the show. And if you saw that season, you would totally agree that it's so deserving to be in the conversation about the best of this past season. So congratulations to Pose. I'm very happy for that. So we're just waiting now on the reality category. And then just while we're waiting, the next categories will be the prosthetic makeup category, production design for variety, reality, or competition, and production design for variety special. So there's a few categories there as well. They're going to be presented by Maz Jabrani. Okay, so I think we may be getting a winner shortly for that reality makeup category. But in the meantime, I'm just going to take you through the nominees for prosthetic makeup. They are Lovecraft Country, The Mandalorian, Pose again, Star Trek Discovery, and This Is Us. What a great category. Like, I would love to see any of those shows win. Frankly, though, the prosthetic makeup on The Mandalorian, that Jedi episode, was so extraordinary. And of course, I'm very biased, but I think Star Trek Discovery is one of the best shows on television, period. And the beautiful prosthetic makeup that was done in The Hope That Is You, Part 1, just amazing work there. So much new stuff that they had to put together for that show because it moved 900 years into the future in season 3. So we're waiting now on two winners, the winners for the reality, variety, makeup, and then of course the prosthetic makeup category, and then we'll move on to the production design categories. So I might just move ahead and read those out while we're waiting. Does anybody have any comments about the next two categories?
Just got the last.
There we go. Thank you. This is like a marathon trying to keep up with all the different information. It's like, woof. Okay, SNL wins reality program. There's number 2 for the night. It is now up to 86 wins, all up in its very long and illustrious run. Congratulations to Saturday Night Live. So there's another one, makeup. I'll just write that down.
And I think winning for similar reasons of hairstyling, the sheer amount of difficulty of having to like approach them one at a time and keep safe for 20 episodes is immense. So
and Pose and SNL both doubled up with hair and makeup, and I think Star Trek will win prosthetic because someone commented in our chat room that Picard won last year and Discovery won the year before. Star Trek has always been very popular in prosthetic makeup, and I was kind of surprised by Picard's win last year because the episode they submitted was mostly Romulans and Vulcans. So it wasn't like it wasn't the showiest Star Trek makeup, but they still won for it. So I'm going to give them the edge, though I wouldn't be surprised by Mandalorian.
Okay. Well, it's actually one of my favorite categories of the Emmys every year. Like I'm really into music composition, main title design, main title theme, prosthetic makeup, cinematography, and of course the big prizes on the night, and especially writing. They're the categories I love. So, and the reason is in those categories is where you see all the really cool stuff. You know, we all know this. You know, think back to writing when Buffy was nominated a couple of times, and Battlestar Galactica, and Star Trek has won quite a few of the wins in prosthetic makeup. It's just where we see some of our cool genre stuff actually win. These days, though, as we know, a lot of the genre stuff wins everywhere, like Game of Thrones and Watchmen and so forth. But yeah, it's still my favorite. I'm still a big nerd at heart, and so I'm very unapologetic about that. So we're waiting on prosthetic makeup. Then, of course, we're going to move on to the 2 production design categories. I think I might read them out while we wait. Okay, so production design for a variety, reality, or competition series. The nominees are Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, The Masked Singer, RuPaul's Drag Race, and Saturday Night Live. So a lot of similar shows are now coming through on quite a few of these more visual categories. I'll quickly read out the nominees for the other category, and then you guys can have a chat about what you think is up front. In the variety special production design category, the nominees are Friends the Reunion, the 78th Annual Golden Globe Awards, the 63rd Annual Grammy Awards, the Oscars, and Stephen Colbert's Election Night 2020, Democracy's Last Stand, Building Back America Great Again, Better 2020. So that's a lot there. I think the Grammy Awards was the best award show of the year by far. I found, in terms of entertainment value and the look and feel of the show, and so I'm hoping that will win there. And I think in production design for variety competition series, I have no idea. I think RuPaul's Drag Race was really well done. That was Congratulations. That was episode 2. And Saturday Night Live host Kristen Wiig, that was one of the best episodes of the season. So there's a lot there to unpack. What do you guys think? Do you want to go first, David?
I don't know. I'm looking at like one of these categories as we're prepping the 36. I skipped over entirely, so I'm come back to me on these.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Go ahead. Who wants to go for next? Kevin.
I can. Yeah. I actually think this is one that like the Friends reunion could do very well here, just because they had to reproduce so many of those sets, and there was so much involved in the production of that I think it could take that, especially with all those different award shows in the mix. I think it is the most impressive, I would say.
Okay, interesting. And Daniel?
I agree. Friends stands out in that variety special category. You've got 3 award shows that kind of might cancel each other out, although I think Grammys would probably be the most likely of those. And then for variety reality competition series, I think broken record SNL, same reasons I've given before on the number of sketches and how it stands out. Although Last Week Tonight, I believe that episode they're nominated for is the one with the giant 2020 set that they blew up at the end. So that's not out of it, but I think SNL.
Okay.
Yeah,
it looks
I have SNL. Oh, sorry. I have SNL too. If I didn't botch all of the category stats, I have SNL, and they seem to be on a streak in this category. So I think they're just going to stay with SNL this year.
Okay, so it looks like The Mandalorian won prosthetic makeup. Congratulations to those winners. Obviously, the work done for Ahsoka, played by Rosario Dawson, this legendary character in the Star Trek universe. It was so highly anticipated, and they really pulled it off. That episode is just 10 out of 10.
You're going to get canceled by Star Wars fans because you accidentally called it Star Trek.
Oh, I'm sorry. Remember, it's Sunday morning, and and I am only firing on 5 out of 10 cylinders. Yeah, I love that. But you know what? I'm actually, to be honest, slightly disappointed that Star Trek did not take that out. And that's probably where my Freudian slip came from, because I really wanted Discovery to take that win, given that I, of course, interviewed Glenn Hetrick, the amazing prosthetic makeup artist on that show. Anyway, great work for The Mandalorian. Another win for that. It won so many last year. And here we go again, Mandalorian now winning its first of the season. So I'm just going to write that in. Okay, we now have the 2 production design categories to wait for. Yeah, and who else would like to just chime in on what they think might happen there? Why would the Friends reunion be a front runner there? I didn't see anything that was so out of the box in terms of its production design.
I don't know actual parameters of whether they had to recreate those sets specifically, so I don't have full knowledge on that, but I would imagine that is certainly impressive. They had a few different, like, I don't know, they just did a lot of different things, which is to varying levels of whether they should have done all of that or not, but regardless, there was just a lot to the production. So
it was
again,
also yeah, and it's also a focal point of the opening of the special too, is each of the cast members one by one re-entering the space, and the kind of emotional response to just being, you know, one of them, maybe Matt LeBlanc says, I didn't realize how emotional it would be to just be on the set again. So, you know, not that it's not integral to any of these nominees, but when it's that out front, that just, you know, entering the space has such a, you know, creates such a response, I feel like it might be just out front in voters' minds.
Okay, very interesting. I want to also mention that someone made a really funny comment, and I'm just not seeing it right now, but I think, yeah, if Courtney Cox could have maybe like designed one of the tablecloths or moved a prop, we really got to get that woman an Emmy. I mean, or a nomination at least. How galling is it that all the other 5 friends were all at least nominated once, even David Schwimmer for season 1, and yet bloody Courtney Cox couldn't squeeze out a nomination? That really burns me. Anyway,
well, she is nominated as a producer, at least.
True, that is true. Okay, SNL wins production design, variety, reality. There's another win for SNL. I'm starting to see a little trend here, guys. What do you think?
Has SNL lost anything it's been up to for?
No.
I think it's 3 for 3.
Nope.
I think it's 3 for 3.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. Did SNL have such a strong season? I think it had a pretty damn strong season. So,
yeah.
Congratulations to SNL for winning that.
People were watching. It was an election year, so
yeah,
that's right. It's always a plus. Always a plus. I mean, look at guest actor in a comedy series. Does it not have 4 out of the 5 nominees? I mean, that's
exactly
amazing. While we wait for the special production design, I'm going to read out the nominees for the 3 narrative categories. So just making sure I've got them all here correctly. Yes, I do. All right. So production design for a narrative contemporary program, 1 hour or more, The Flight Attendant, The Handmaid's Tale, Mayor of Easttown, The Undoing, or Yellowstone. Oh, this category burns me because, you know, if we're going there, I did interview two of the 5, and this is the Yellowstone.
And I interviewed another one. I don't know. We might have doubled up on one.
Maybe. The Undoing, great work. Yellowstone, its only ever nomination. That is the most popular cable series in America, and it should be getting more nominations, and it's just a complete crime that it doesn't. And then for the next category, production design for a narrative, period, or fantasy, 1 hour or more, you've got Bridgerton, The Crown, Halston, The Mandalorian, Perry Mason, and The Queen's Gambit. And then for production design for a narrative program, half hour, you've got the comedy series nominated Emily in Paris, Hacks, Ted Lasso, United States of Al, and WandaVision. Wow, fantastic categories there. So look, we're just waiting now for the production design, the last production design that Maz Jobrani is announcing. Then we can move on to Thomas Lennon and his 3 production design categories. Let's talk about those 3 narrative categories. I love it how they break this up because, you know, like this production design is so different depending on whether you're doing contemporary work or fantasy work. And then I don't really know why they bothered with the half hour, but I guess they want to give comedy series a bit of a leg up, even though these days
WandaVision's going to win it.
That's right. You've got WandaVision, you've got Mandalorian. I mean, even the Mandalorian's in fantasy, but that's a half-hour show. You know, In Treatment could have been nominated here. It's a half-hour show. So I'm not sure what the situation. I think they probably need to change that up a bit, maybe, and maybe give a comedy one, because I'm pretty sure WandaVision is winning that in a heartbeat. And I think
and they're nominated for the whole season too. Like they don't look at the nominations list. They're not nominated for a specific episode. And think about the way that show changes visually throughout the season. It's hard for me to see that losing against 4 comedies.
So it looks like the Oscars has won the production design special category. Yep, I've just got that announced by Chris. So well done to the Oscars. Whatever you might have thought about the show itself and the way that they announced that debacle with Best Actor and Best Picture at the end, which I probably will never forgive. It was a beautiful set, really beautiful, and just the way they transformed Union Station, like, good on them for doing such a wonderful job in such difficult circumstances with the pandemic. So good on them, and that is why Claw 1 through 5, the Oscars won. So I think, like, in terms of narrative contemporary program, I think Handmaid's Tale won this last year. Could be wrong.
Yeah, I have a fun trivia fact about this. I looked
Go
this
ahead.
up before. It's literally won every single year that it's been eligible, including that like random hanging 3-episode season.
That's fascinating. I
So-
forgot about that. Well, that bodes well for it again. And surely with this year that it's just exploded and came back roaring with so many nominations for its fourth and probably best maybe season so far. Yeah, that seems like the front runner, but it's all such great work. Like I love contemporary production design. It's even though you can admire the fantasy stuff and the period stuff, contemporary I love because it's something that it's kind of maybe attainable. Like, I could actually live in that palace one day if I was super rich, or I could live in that beautiful penthouse in New York City if I had $1 billion, or, I wouldn't mind living in Easttown, wherever the hell that is. That's a lovely cabin and in Yellowstone. So I love that category. I'm really excited about what's going to be in there.
And Handmaid's has this interesting semi-advantage, I guess I would think of it, because it's sort of in this middle ground between contemporary and fantasy, because it takes place in an alternate kind of reality, even though it's set in present day. So it gets to be more imaginative than we often see from the contemporary nominees. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are still waiting for more winners. So let's just kind of like stall a bit more. In narrative period or fantasy, that seems to be a Mandalorian win, but The Crown's there again. And again, Martin Childs is like a legend in terms of his work on The Crown and other shows. I hope that it can actually win. But then you've got Bridgerton, beautiful work there. And, of course, The Queen's Gambit. God, there's so much strong work on TV these days. I know it seems like such a cliche, doesn't it? But there really is a lot of great work. Yeah, that category is a beast. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if any of these win. They all have pretty outstanding, specifically production design. I would give the edge to Queen's Gambit or Bridgerton, but also Crown, but also Perry Mason, but also The Mandalorian. But I'm gonna go with Queen's Gambit, Bridgerton as my dark horse. Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing from Sean Horace that Mayor of Easttown won. Okay, so it looks like that's happening. I'm waiting for Chris to confirm, but that is a surprise.
Insane. Wow.
That is an actual surprise. That's the first loss, according to Kevin's trivia, that The Handmaid's Tale has suffered in this category.
Wild for it to be for this season. I know.
And how ironic that The Handmaid's Tale really came back roaring, and also it had so many more new sets to design because of the amount of work that it did in Chicago, Canada, and also, of course, in Gilead. Wow, I'm really surprised by that. And I'm just trying to think back to Mayor of Easttown and what it was about the production design that the Emmy voters really responded to. But okay, that's interesting. But congratulations to Mayor, and condolences to the Undoing and the Yellowstone teams. I still love you. All right, so Mayor of Easttown, production design, that's its first Emmy. Now we're going to, I think we're waiting on, pardon me, the Imperial Fantasy. I'm going to stop talking. Somebody else take over for a second. You did not appoint a vice. Vice Emmys host. I know. I want to appoint you, Daniel, because I'm probably going to have to interrupt you again. So why not? Okay. So we've gotten that last. Now I'm trying to catch up to see. Okay, we've gotten 3 production design winners. What haven't we gotten here yet?
So we're moving on to cinematography, which will be presented by Angelica Ross. Let me call up those nominations. And we've got the categories coming up are cinematography for limited or anthology, series or movie, then single camera series, 1 hour, and then multi-camera series. So for cinematography series for a multi-camera series, you've got Call Me Kat, The Conners, Country Comfort, Last Man Standing, and The Upshaws. Single camera series, half hour, you've got Grownish, Hacks, Made for Love, The Mandalorian, and Servant. Cinematography for a single camera series, 1 hour, is Bridgerton, The Crown, Euphoria, Lovecraft Country, Mandalorian, Perry Mason, Umbrella Academy. Loved seeing Umbrella Academy here. And then, yeah, I think that's... oh no, I haven't gotten a limited series or anthology or movie. That's Fargo, Mayor of Easttown, Queen's Gambit, Small Axe, which I believe that's its only nomination, and The Underground Railroad. So
and it looks like Queen's Gambit won.
Not surprised.
That's
what,
the design.
Take my word for it.
I can see why it won, but I am still surprised. I would have been surprised for anything because it's all so, as Daniel, you so rightly mentioned, that is a beast of a category. You win that and you really won something pretty special because that competition is ridiculous. That bodes well for Queen's Gambit, everybody. I know it's cliche to say that during the Emmys. I'm sorry, but when you're winning a category like that, I've got to tell you that is very good news for the team from the Queen's Gambit. Congratulations. That was really, really beautiful work. So we've got one more in production design that we're waiting on, and that is for the half hour, hopefully, I think, the WandaVision. But I must say, because you guys opened the gate, the Pandora's box, I did interview Paul Cripps from Ted Lasso, and it really gave me a bit of knowledge about what his work entailed on Ted Lasso. Because it's a very subtle show. You think it's just stadiums and rooms, who cares? But a lot of the sets were built purposely for the show so that you could walk and talk throughout the show like they used to do in the West Wing. And the work there is incredible. The lighting is very intentional. So if there's going to be a surprise there, mark my words, it could be Ted Lasso. So am I just talking complete nonsense, or are we just wasting our breath and it's just WandaVision? Let's move on.
Somebody floated the idea of Emily in Paris actually taking this, if you really want your head to just kind of explode on screen. But I mean, I could almost see that happening.
Yeah. We're gonna say it. I interviewed her, the production designer of Emily in Paris, and look, she made a lot of different sets from the ground up. So
totally.
And it's a very candy-colored show and very, vibrant. So I would not count it out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's possible.
It is possible.
It's probably the only other show with a shot there because the others aren't as showy. They're not really showy in terms of production design. And we when we're predicting a lot of awards, Emmys, Oscars, any of the above, it's a lot of times the most production design or the most costume design, the most conspicuous achievement often wins.
So it looks like WandaVision actually won. So it's his first win of the night. Okay, because I've got to say, if the WandaVision had lost that, I think we'd be asking some questions.
Yeah, that would have been.
We'd be asking some questions, right? So, congratulations on WandaVision.
The whole series, right?
For the whole series, I mean, that work was just breathtaking. I can't put in words the amount, the attention to detail of all those sitcom sets. Just blew my mind. So, congratulations on WandaVision winning that. We're obviously, as Daniel mentioned, we are moving on to the cinematography categories. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a huge cinematography nerd, love it. So I'm just going to pull them up on my screen so that we can be ready. So I'd love to hear from you guys what your thoughts are on these next three categories that are coming up. Anything in particular that springs to mind?
I'm wondering what's going to happen with The Crown at this point, because it's like, I feel like it's not doing as well as we may have anticipated.
I feel okay about The Crown still. It's never been a juggernaut in the technical categories, and I don't think it's lost anything that was a surprise. Like, you know, Mayor of Easttown winning that production design one, that was a surprise. But it was no, it wasn't up against The Crown there. So yeah, like down the line, we'll see what it loses. That could be a little bit more dramatic. I think it's still okay.
Yeah. You know what? Marcus James Dixon just made a comment in our control room about how Wanda, Mayor, and Gambit just won production design awards. All three of them in separate categories, but they're all up against each other in limited series and are ostensibly the frontrunners, with I May Destroy You probably just slightly behind, and then Underground Railroad behind that. That's not helpful to me.
Well, Queen's Gambit and Mayor are up against each other for cinematography, so we could see something there. I think Queen's Gambit has the edge there, although with Mayor of Easttown winning production design, who knows?
If Mayor wins that, I'm paying attention.
Yeah, if Mayor wins that, I might immediately switch to Mayor for best.
Yeah.
No offense to its cinematography, but in terms of showy achievements, it's not really one. So if they're voting for that, then they're really, really high on it.
That's right. So let's see what happens. That's where the Creative Arts Emmys can be quite useful. When you start seeing shows competing and where it's unclear as to what's going to win, and it gives you a sense, although sometimes it does give you a bum steer and you end up going down a path which leads you to oblivion when it comes to your prediction. So you've got to be super careful about that. So the first one is actually in cinematography that we're waiting on, is for limited or anthology series or movie. Just to remind you all, even though Daniel's already told you that nominees: Fargo, Mayor, Gambit, Axe, Underground Railroad. You know what? I think Underground Railroad should win that one, to be completely frank with you. The cinematography from James Laxton in that we just
got the winner.
Oh, we got the winner. Okay, the winner is Queen's Gambit. Thank you. Queen's Gambit. Okay, not a surprise there.
Not a surprise.
But, as I mentioned earlier, that's a killer category. The cinematography in Fargo was amazing. Mayor, Small Axe, Underground Railroad. So good on them for winning that one.
A little bit of an update on the tallies. Queen's Gambit is now tied with SNL as the most awarded show so far at 3 apiece.
Yeah. So there's 3 for the Queen's Gambit. It's looking, if I was in the Queen's Gambit team, I'd be feeling very good about myself right about
It's
now.
a good start. It's a very
good start. All right, the next category, and you guys, if you have anything to mention, just, please pipe in, but I'm just going to keep moving on otherwise, but I'm happy for you to stop me. Single camera series, 1 hour. So let me just find that again. Here we go. So, oh my God, it's one of my favorites. Oh, this one just is going to break my heart. So you got like Bridgerton, you got The Crown, Adriana Goldman. It's just a legend for fairy tale. That's the Diana episode when we first meet her. Euphoria, oh my God, amazing. Lovecraft, killer. Mandalorian, Jedi episode. Perry Mason. One of the best things about that show was its cinematography. And of course, Umbrella Academy. People love that show. People who watch that show, like Daniel, love that show for a very good reason, because it's just so freaking good. So I don't know what's going to happen here, guys. I'm going for The Crown because I think Adriana Goldman is a master. He is one of the best cinematographer DPs in the world by far. So I don't know. That's what I'm going for. Anyone else got anything different there?
I think I'll go Crown here as well. I think Euphoria would have a shot. I think Mandalorian has a shot. Maybe even Perry Mason. That show looks absolutely gorgeous. It's a toughie, but I'm going to say Crown looks like the big fish here.
It looks like it won. That's the second win for Adriana Goldman. He won for Beryl, which was a second season episode. He didn't win for season 3, which was a big surprise for me. So number 2 win for Adriana Goldman. If you want to see masterful cinematography, rewatch Fairy Tale. There's so many scenes, but one in particular is the scene where the Queen and Prince Charles are in that room watching the fireworks outside and they're talking. It's so subtle. It's so brilliant. Congratulations, Adriano. I'm very, very happy for him. And that's the number 1 win for The Crown of the night. Could this be the beginning of the Crown steamroll? Let's hope so.
Interesting thing about the multi-camera cinematography race coming up, Donald A. Morgan has 3 of the nominations in this category for The Conners, Last Man Standing, The Upshaws. He is the most awarded Black individual in Emmys history. He has 10. If he wins one of these, he'll have 11. RuPaul, though, has 8 total wins to date. If he wins all 3 of his nominations, he has 1 for hosting and 2 for producing, he'll tie. So that'll be an interesting achievement to see what happens there.
Wow. That's
I wouldn't be surprised if, even though he's in the category against himself, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins for the Upshaws, just because I think it is the most, maybe Country Comfort aside, the most widely seen of these multicam series. So I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Okay. I'm hoping the Connors wins. It's actually a multicam show I still watch. There's not many, to be honest. I think that's probably the only one. And that's a really good episode too. But I don't know. I've never seen Upshaws, and I've never seen Call Me Kat. So I just don't know what's going to happen there. But it looks like Country Comfort has 1.
Wow.
There you go. So imagine how you'd feel if you were Donald.
Poor Donald Morgan.
Nominations and still didn't win.
Tough.
Condolences.
Also a Netflix series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Country Comfort, I think, is
Yes.
Netflix, so it helps.
Didn't like The Ranch win like 3 or 4 awards?
Yes, it did.
Here?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
Those were for Donald Morgan.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're now moving on, I think, to the memoriam section. And I think that's going to be presented by Thuzo and Bedu. So it looks like we're probably going to have a little bit of a break now. This might be some time if you are not, obviously we can't see the memoriam section. So if you need to go to the bathroom, go and get a wine, go and pat your dog, go and say hi to your mom, now's the time to do it. And other than that, I think while we wait for the memoriam section, let's talk about costumes, because who doesn't like talking about costumes? And the reason for that is the next 3 categories presented by Lisa Edelstein are the costume categories, and they are always super exciting. And we know as awards nerds that at the Oscars, it's always the most costumes. It's always the big dresses and the bonnets that wins the costume design category, generally speaking. The Emmys, like the Costume Design Guild, likes to break it up a little bit, which I very much respect, because then it gives contemporary work its fair due. And the reason for that is they're not just throwing a T-shirt from Kmart on the people on set, okay? They're thinking very carefully about their characters and the characters' moods, motivations, and backgrounds, and age and size and ethnicity and sexuality, and then they're trying to design something contemporary that will actually work for the character. That's really difficult to do, and it's very hard to judge. So there's my TED Talk, thank you. I'm going to pull up the nominations so that we can talk about who is going to win that. And here we go. All right, so outstanding period costumes. So I'm just going to make sure that's the first one. Yes, period, contemporary, variety, non-fiction, reality, okay? Period costumes, the nominees are Bridgerton, The Crown, Halston, The Queen's Gambit, or Ratched. I mean, I'm getting a migraine from the quality there. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll talk about that in a second. Then you got, hang on, fantasy sci-fi is not in this list, so that must be coming later. Okay, yes, that's going to be the last award of the night, so I'll just skip over that one. Then you've got contemporary, sorry guys, yes, contemporary, all right. You've got Blackish, Euphoria, Hacks, I May Destroy You, the first time we've seen that show tonight, Mayor of East Town, The Politician, and Pose. Again, I just got goosebumps from the amount of, just the level of quality there. And then finally, you've got costumes for variety, non-fiction, or reality. And I'm just going to see if I can find that.
I believe that's Juried this year as well.
That's why it's not on my list. Thank you, Daniel. So let's talk about, let's leave that for now. I've actually just received a message from Chris Beecham, our managing editor. And when Chris speaks, we listen. Heath suggests that we talk about our guest star picks for tomorrow. Why not? Let's do it. I don't know what the hell's going to happen in the comedy side. I'm really confused. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you think will win in the comedy guest acting categories. Is it just going to be SNL, or is something else going to pull a rabbit out of the hat? Who would like to go first? Who's really confident about their picks?
I feel reasonably confident that it's just going to be Dave Chappelle and Maya Rudolph. I mean, Dave Chappelle previously won for the episode that he previously had for the other election of 2016. Here he is again in 2020 doing the same thing. Will probably win again. Very, very much a watched episode. And then for Maya Rudolph, I mean, she was basically like a recurring cast member for the first half of that season and won last year. And she hosted her own episode this time around. Last time she only won for playing Kamala Harris. So, yeah, I think it's kind of straightforward, but, you know, I could see a Jane Addams for Hacks. That would be really cool. Morgan Freeman could randomly have the big vote split situation happening and him winning for playing himself on the Kaminsky method. So,
which is rare, but it's also rare to be the only nominee against 4 people from another show.
Right.
Yeah, can I answer that question from JB? It's a bloody good question. It's something that actually really gets up my nose, and that's an Australian term. I don't know if you say that over there. But why does SNL compete here? Well, obviously because the Academy stupidly decided to remove the performance in a variety series or special category years ago, and I think that was a dumb idea. And they lumped all the variety performers into guest, either in supporting lead into comedy, either supporting lead or guest. And the SNL day players, like the ones that come in for a guest spot, a hosting gig, generally are lumped in here. And they tend to take over a bit. And yet they're still writing in variety, which they have their own categories. They're not lumped in comedy like the animated. Like, it's just crazy. Dumb, stupid idea. Get rid of them. Let's actually have sitcoms competing with sitcoms and variety competing with variety. Do any of you disagree with that?
Not at all. Totally agree.
Fully
Look, the Emmys
agree.
have enough categories already. Why not add 2 more?
And they got rid of it in a year where it seemed like they were trying to pare things down. But in the years since, we've gotten 20 extra short form categories, including dedicated acting categories for short form. And we don't have any variety performance categories. We should. Chris Beecham has mentioned this many times before to us privately, and I think probably in some Slugfests in the past, that there should be 2 variety categories. One for continuing performers, which would be your regular actors on SNL, Robin Thede for Black Lady Sketch Show, that sort of thing. And then your individual performance, which is your SNL hosts, your Oscar hosts, your award show hosts, and that sort of stuff. Just your kind of one time only. Bo Burnham, who would totally win that. Oh my God,
Right?
totally win that.
Oh my God. Daniel and I were just kind of commenting on each other's stuff on social media yesterday about Bo Burnham, because I just simply cannot get that soundtrack out of my head, and I listen to it all day while I'm working, and I expect him to win a lot of Emmys in the next few days.
I think it'll be Bo Burnham all along for music and lyrics, actually.
Yes, it was Bo Burnham all along. That's a killer category too, by the way, but that's another story. I'm hoping the Emmys bring back the just restructure this a bit, bring back the performance in a variety. You could have guest performance and lead performance if you want. I don't care, but it's unfair to a lot of the guest acting performers in comedy that are not nominated because we're stuck with these SNL people. And then you've got in the limited series acting categories all these Hamilton performers. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And that's a variety special. So get your act together, fix it. And by the way, 2 of my favorite people on this planet are Matt Noble and Eric Anderson, and both of them just agreed with me. So
Rob is on cloud 9 right now.
I'm on cloud 9. Now, let's talk more about costumes before people start losing their minds, because that's coming up, right? Oh, before we do, sorry, I'm jumping all around the place, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited. Let's talk about guest drama, because they hurt my brain. Who would like to talk to those? Who feels confident?
I feel confident that Dance is not winning Guest Actor. I think it's actually going to be Courtney B. Vance, Daniel.
Wow.
So don't worry. Lovecraft, I think, will at least have one trophy out of the Creative Arts. That's my one risk in the guest categories, because there's always at least one winner that is unpredictable, no matter how hard you try to overthink the categories. And I just feel like it's not going to be Dance for the crown.
Wow.
I also kind of think that's a two-way race. I'm predicting Dance just sort of like as the safe pick, but I do have Courtney B. Vance in second, and it's not just because I'm a Lovecraft stan. It's because, you know, he's Courtney B. Vance. He's only a few years ago won for O.J. Simpson, so he's still kind of a hot commodity there.
Yeah.
I don't see either of the two Mandalorian actors winning. I don't see Don Cheadle winning for a cameo, although, I mean, Margot Martindale, it's happened
Helen
multiple
Burstyn,
times. I believe Cherry Jones, also one of her wins for Handmaid's Tale, was for a very brief appearance. So it's possible, but in this case, Don Cheadle doesn't have that track record of already being that person who always wins. He actually hasn't won yet in his career, so I'm not sure this is going to be the thing that does it. But yeah, if it's not Charles Dance, I think if it's not Dance, it's Vance.
Yeah. Oh my God, that hurt my brain. I'm thinking Dance. Yeah. What about the actress side? That is tough.
We have a costumes win, by the way.
Oh, we do. I'm still waiting for it to be like definite. But oh yes, sorry, thank you.
It is.
Queen's Gambit wins again, guys.
Over the Crown and Bridgerton. That's very impressive for me.
Bridgerton and
Ratchet. We're seeing a repeat of the of what happened during the spring guild season, where because Bridgerton was also eligible and The Crown was also eligible during that thing, and Queen's Gambit won costumes there too. So yeah, it just swept all the guilds, and we thought things might be different, at the Emmys, because it didn't have to face WandaVision, it didn't have to face Mayor of Easttown, and so maybe it would lose a little bit of steam, and so far it has not.
That is so interesting. You know how I've said a few times, Queen's Gambit was winning everything months ago, then it started to change. Like maybe that was just in our bubble, and maybe people just love that show. I've never seen a reaction to people who don't even watch a lot of TV, who aren't in the industry, who aren't in the bubble, loved that show. And if they loved it, then imagine how industry insiders fell for it. I think it was Netflix's most popular show for quite a while there. It now has 4 wins already. Guys, and
in some big races, some big like against some big competition.
Yeah.
Winning against Mayor of Easttown, winning against even The Crown, and it's.
Oh, and then it looks like Pose has won Emmy number 3 for contemporary costumes. Congratulations, that is so cool. I'm so happy for that show.
In hindsight, I'm sure they were so it was so smart of them to set that series finale episode to do a little bit of a flash forward just to get them into the contemporary range, because it so set them up for these wins. It's like last year, The Mandalorian winning 7 awards because it was one of the only half-hour shows with that kind of production value, and so it was winning all the half-hour categories. Pose swept half-hour or contemporary crafts because it's set very close to period, and it's doing extravagant stuff.
Oh, really is. But I've got to say, as a contemporary costume nerd, I'm slightly disappointed only for the real contemporary shows. No disrespect to Pose, because I've already said how much I love that show and respect its craft. But, I mean, it's not technically a contemporary show. So that's okay. But as Daniel mentioned, that finale, that Sex and the City vibe at the end, it was pretty much a guarantee that it was going to probably take this one out. So that's Emmy number 3 for Pose. What are the Emmys so far for Pose? Makeup, hairstyling, and costumes, yeah?
Yeah. And coming up is the Juried Award for costumes for variety, nonfiction, or reality program. This is the first time this has been juried. It's been like a regular kind of nominations category before. But this year, there are 3 winners chosen here. It's Black is King on Disney+, The Masked Singer for the episode Super 8, The Plot Chickens, Part 2. And Sherman's Showcase Black History Month Spectacular. So those are the Juried Award winners for costumes for a variety, nonfiction, or reality program.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Now, we've got the next group of categories presented by Ming-Na Wen from The Mandalorian. The two sound mixing categories and cinematography. So you've got sound mixing for a variety, series, or special. I'm just going to pull that up on my screen. Give us a moment. Bear with me. And if I could type. All right. So sound mixing for I'm just making sure, for a variety, series, or special. Okay. The nominees are Bruce Springsteen's Letter to You. Pardon me. David Byrne's American Utopia. Hamilton, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. I don't know. Hamilton?
Yeah, I'd go Hamilton with
Yep.
David Byrne's American Utopia behind it.
Yep.
Which deserves to win.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to say something now, and I love Hamilton, but seriously, did it not win all those Tonys? Does it really
I will
need
say,
to win?
in its defense, it was only eligible at the Emmys in categories very specifically around its television production aspect. So its costumes weren't eligible, its production design wasn't eligible, none of that was eligible. But for things like sound and editing, stuff that was actually focused on the television, on capturing it for television, that's what it's here for. So I do think they did that right in terms of limiting what it could kind of double dip.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I actually wasn't completely aware of that, and that's actually really, to be honest, for us big nerds, comforting, because we don't like how there's a lot of double up, particularly when the Emmys nominate documentaries that were nominated at the Oscars, for example, and they nominate all these variety specials that were Tony Award winning productions. That kind of does give me a bit of it just annoys me a little bit. But okay,
they changed that to documentaries too. So there are nominees for documentaries at the Emmys that were eligible at the Oscars, but anything that was nominated for an Oscar was ineligible for these Emmys.
Okay, that's really, really good to know. Thank you. Now, the next category while we're waiting is sound mixing for a comedy or drama series, half hour, or animation. And those nominees are Be Positive, Cobra Kai, Hacks, The Kaminsky Method, Ted Lasso. Cool. They're really good. I like them. I'd love to see Cobra Kai win something. I'd like to see Hacks maybe win, but I have a feeling this could be the first time we see Ted Lasso win. Does anyone not agree with that?
I think you're probably right. I'd go Ted Lasso, Cobra Kai as maybe the second place there.
Yeah.
As more of the technical sort of physicality of that show. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, that's really interesting. I'm looking forward to those. The final category being presented by Ming-Na Wen is cinematography for a single camera series. So I'll just go back to those so that we can quickly rattle those off. Cinematography, did I say for a multicam series? No, single cam, half hour. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
All right, those nominees are Grown-ish, Hacks, Made for Love, The Mandalorian, or Servant.
And that'll be one of those Mandalorian designed to win that category things.
Yeah, you would think so. Although
feels like cheating.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I think
that's why I think they should adjust some of these categories where, like, whether a show is a half hour or an hour long. Honestly, the way shows are serialized nowadays, if you run them continuously, they're basically one story. So it seems odd to distinguish between single camera half hour and single camera hour. I feel like those need to be put together.
Yeah, agreed. They must have done that in the past because of the comedy drama split, but that's no longer relevant. Plus, a lot of these shows that are streaming are like 42 minutes, 28 minutes, 57 minutes. They're not 1 hour and not a half an hour. We don't have ads anymore, people. Wake up. And that being said, if we're not going to have Mandalorian win, which it will, I think Servant should win that one because the cinematography on that show is amazing. It's a really, really great show. Really underrated show. Just ask Riley Chow. I think he watches it still. So we're waiting on some winners here now. I don't know what else we could possibly talk about, but I'm happy for you to just tap dance for me. Somebody tap dance.
What about
I'll
guest
just-
actress in a drama?
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
just to go back to
Yeah.
that.
Do that. Go for it. Tell me.
Me?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting category. Could go in a lot of different directions. I think McKenna Grace is very deserving of that personally, but I sort of wonder if Alexis Bledel is sort of a default in that position. But I would love also if Sophia Okonedo could win that too, because that is an incredible performance that she gives on Ratched.
Doesn't it give you some hope that they actually were paying attention to nominate her? Because Ratched wasn't really up there, and yet she got through. And that makes me happy, because I would love to see that as well. But McKenna Grace, for me, just blew my mind. And she's so young and just phenomenally talented. And, of course, one of my interviewees. So, what about you, Daniel? Who's going to win that one?
I think Handmaid's Tale is the kind of show where they're mostly paying attention, where like if they see something that they like and, you know, they could just go with Alexis Bledel because they know her and they like her and she's won before. But I feel like McKenna has a slight edge, but not guaranteed. The only one I'd say is 100% out of this is Felicia Rashad for
a winner.
Oh, we got a winner. No,
David Byrne's American Utopia. I'm trying to get Daniel to speak because then it just means another one's going to come through and I'll have to interrupt him. And it really hurts me to do it. David Byrne's American Utopia wins a sound mixing for a variety, series, or special. Congratulations to those winners. I'm not really that surprised, but I guess Hamilton, I thought, steamrolled everything, but
maybe we are seeing a little bit of that. You know, you already won this stuff on Broadway. Maybe, although I don't think Hamilton had the sound category. I don't think that was up at the Tonys that year. But yeah, I still think Hamilton's winning variety special, especially because that's an appropriate category for it.
Yeah. But what if there is this little bit of a backlash? I mean, it could be a story for us to write about the day after Emmys. Who knows?
I think if we were going to see a backlash, I'm not sure we would have seen so many acting nominees.
True.
Like if they were primed to backlash on it.
I feel like the number of acting nominees is spurring a backlash.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the technical merit, like you were saying earlier, Daniel, a lot of these categories, you know, is for work that has no, you know, pertinence to Broadway and its other iterations. But the acting is, you know, a little bit less so. It's a bit more kind of, you know, fungible, whether they were really recalibrating their performances to a camera. So I feel like seeing all of those slots in, you know, limited series acting go to Hamilton, you know, kind of made people think a little differently.
Yeah, especially with what it snubbed, like no small acts, no underground acting.
This spot, I have to interrupt Daniel again because Ted Lasso won the other sound category. So there's Emmy #1 for Ted Lasso season 1. Sorry, God, I'm thinking season 2 because I'm watching that for the second time because I love that show so much. I was going to wear my Ted Lasso shirt, but I didn't want to show any favoritism. But I mean, I love that show a lot. I'm very happy that it won sound mixing for comedy or drama or animation. Congratulations. And we now are waiting on cinematography single cam half hour.
Yeah. And someone was pointing out in our chat room, you know, how it's nominated in one half-hour category and it was nominated previously in an hour-long category. And apparently speaking of how arbitrary time limits are in the age of streaming and premium cable, the half-hour nomination is for a 35-minute episode. The hour-long nomination was for a 43-minute episode. 8-minute difference, 2 different categories.
You gotta laugh.
They need to review this and have an audit on some kind of committee. Like, let's get like Jim Jordan and the people in Congress to, like, I don't know, do something about, I don't know what I'm saying really, but they need to fix it because it's shit. Okay, it just doesn't make sense. All right, so we're waiting on the winners for single cam cinematography, and guess what?
Yeah, we just got it.
Surprise! What a shock! The Mandalorian. Okay, so Mandalorian in cinematography. Congratulations! It's a pretty good win, I've got to say. Like, you know, I'm not terribly shocked. All right, we're now waiting on Brendan Hunt, the wonderful Brendan Hunt, to announce the 3 picture editing categories tonight for limited anthology series, comedy, and then drama. So let me just pull them up on my screen and then we'll rattle off.
And while you're doing that, I'll just mention that Mandalorian is the 4th show of the night with multiple awards. It has 2. Pose and SNL have 3 apiece. Queen's Gambit is at 4.
Very good. Okay, so the first one is picture editing for limited or anthology. And the nominees are Mayor of Easttown. So the first one episode is Fathers. The second episode is Miss Lady Hawk herself. Then the Queen's Gambit for the episode exchanges. Then you've got WandaVision for on a very special episode, ... and WandaVision, the series finale. So I'm thinking here the Queen's Gambit's going to win because
Mayor, Wanda, Queen's Gambit, and Queen's Gambit's been strong enough everywhere else. So in a close contest, I can see vote splitting hurting those other shows.
And that sucks because we've got to admit the cinematography on WandaVision, especially the old sitcom parts, was pretty extraordinary. Like they did a really great job. So yeah, Queen's Gambit's winning this one.
There is vote splitting galore, I think, in these categories. Especially, I don't know if comedy is the next one in the lineup, but many opportunities.
So let's actually read them out. There are so many picture editing categories. My God. I'm just going to flick through it. Here we go. Picture editing for a comedy. All right. So we got The Connors, Man with a Plan, and Mom. It would feel like Mom. I just feel so weird saying that. He's going to win that one. It should be Mum. But I would like The Connors to win that one. We'll see what happens.
I think Mom only because the same episode is nominated for directing, which was quite a shock. So I feel like that will be Mom.
Yes. Okay. And you know what? I just realized that I screwed it up, guys. I'm really sorry. It's actually the single camera comedy picture editing, not the multicam. My bad. So actually the nominees are The Flight Attendant, Hacks for Prim, Hacks for There Is No Line, which is the pilot, Hacks for Tunnel of Love, Ted Lasso for The Hope That Kills You, and Ted Lasso for Make Rebecca Great Again.
And it's going to be Flight Attendant. And it's not just because of vote splitting, it's also because it's a vote splitting plus a very showy kind of stylistic editing episode.
Totally.
It lucked out to be up against 3 from Hacks. I don't think Hacks really has a chance because of that. Ted Lasso could, but I think Flight Attendant will pull it out.
I think the only advantage Hacks has, even though I don't see any of them winning, is the other 2 episodes are almost not memorable as the pilot is. Like, I remember Tunnel of Love. I do not remember what that other episode, the first one you mentioned, Rob. I don't know what that episode is about. So if you remember it's the pilot, you might select the pilot. Whereas Ted Lasso are 2 equally, Ted Lasso, 2 really strong episodes.
And we do have a winner for editing.
Queen's Gambit for editing. That is now 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wins for Queen's Gambit.
I'm having a hard time at this point seeing it lose limited series. Just on the basis of thinking about all of the technical shows that are on TV, where you've got The Mandalorian at 2, WandaVision at 1. It's just cleaning up everything.
The momentum has not slowed. I mean, that's something I was thinking about. Is like it did so well in the Winter Awards, and I didn't know this is September now. Is it going to keep that up? And it has shown no signs of slowing down.
Not at all.
No, it'll be Mayor of Easttown.
He just turns up. I love that cameo. He just comes and he'll win Best Guest Actor for a drama series for that cameo.
He should. That was I am really impressed with the way the Queen's Gambit is just steamrolling through this. Okay, so and by the way, Cynthia very kindly mentioned that I Need a Sunday Nap And you're right, I do. And I will be having one when this is over. Single camera picture editing for a drama series, just so we're clear. The nominees here are very interesting because we have 4 Mandalorians, 2 Crowns, and 1 Handmaid's Tale. Apparently no other shows were warranted a look in here. So the Crown episodes are Avalanche and Fairy Tale. The Handmaid's Tale episode is The Crossing, which was that 4th episode, which I think was pretty amazing. And then Mandalorian, you've got The Heiress, The Jedi, The Believer, and The Rescue. If vote splitting is a thing, Handmaid's Tale should be taking this one out.
Yeah, vote splitting has been a thing every single category where it's been an issue so far. But I will say in this case, there is a chance, because I feel like among the 2 Crown episodes, Fairy Tale stands out more.
That's right.
Clearly.
That's
so
right.
I think it's going to be that and Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Marcus. I think I do probably deserve something, like maybe, I don't know, like the Pasadena award or some, I don't know, some bullshit award. That doesn't mean anything, but it's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, I think we need to just wait and see now what happens in the next categories, but I like the editing categories. I'm actually really hoping that Fairy Tale wins picture editing, not only because I interviewed Young Miles, but also because, again, the Crown editing is very subtle and it's very, very effective in the way that it is able to propel the drama and the tension between those crazy people in the royal family, or, you know, what we think happened with the royal family. So, okay. Yes, good point, Joshua. Riley had more screen time in that cameo than Don Cheadle has in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's talk about that for a second while we're waiting. You know what the problem is here? He was submitted, and that's not his fault. That's really no one's fault apart from Disney Plus or the studio.
We got
we have more. Ted Lasso wins picture editing for comedy series. That's Emmy number 2 for Ted Lasso. Congratulations for them. So vote splitting is a thing.
The Hope That Kills You episode, for the record.
The Hope That Kills You. Vote splitting is a thing, but it's not necessarily that important. And perhaps maybe it helped that Hacks had 3 episodes there as opposed to Ted Lasso's 2. And Ted Lasso was so popular. I wouldn't be feeling very good about myself if I was in the flight attendant team, because you couldn't speak out a win against all those. Yeah. So good on you for Ted Lasso. I'm really, really impressed with that show. I just love it so much. It makes me so happy. All right, so we've got editing. That's very cool. And that is such a good episode, by the way. Like, that is probably a lot of people's favorite episode. I don't know. Do you all have a favorite episode? Have you seen Ted Lasso? What did you think of Ted Lasso, the season 1? I mean, I think it's the best show on TV. Probably, maybe of all the genres, it's in the top 5. That's how much I love it. And that was one of my favorite episodes. What do you guys think? Fans?
I don't think it's like quite on that level for me personally. It's still a great TV viewing. I religiously watch it. I do think it gets better over that season. So I'm glad that it's winning for these later episodes. And I think season 2 is really good. I'm excited to see what they're exploring with that in a more dramatic way. So yeah.
That's a good point. Season 2 is such an improvement from something that was already a very great foundation. That Christmas episode, a lot of people had a problem with that. And then the episode that followed it, the romantic comedy kind of spoof. But I just thought they were like just breathtaking. They were brilliant. I think I'm biased towards shows that make me happy and make me feel good, because we're just living in such difficult, challenging times. Particularly if you're in a lockdown or you're dealing with COVID or loss of your job or whatever it may be. Shows that make us happy just seem to be really hitting at the moment, and that's probably why Ted Lasso did so well with the Academy this year. That's my view. All right, so we're waiting now on picture editing for we've got limited. So we're just waiting for the drama one.
Yeah, and since Ted Lasso won that other one, now I'm gonna put my money behind The Crown for Fairy Tale.
Yeah.
Even though Handmaid's is I don't know if it's the incumbent winner, but it is. I think it did win last year, but it has won in this category. But
yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? And again, like I'm just waiting. I can see Chris is typing. Cynthia mentions here that she acknowledges that I'm a Handmaid's fan, and I really am. So that means I'm just talking complete nonsense, because that is not a show that makes me happy. That is a show that makes me want to curl up into a corner and cry with a bottle of scotch. But again, you know, you've got to take.
That is also a pandemic mood. So
it is. And trust me, this is my 11th week of lockdown, and frankly, I feel like I'm living in some kind of weird Handmaid's Tale universe, and I don't even live in Texas, so that's a whole other thing. So the Crown wins. The Crown won, but for what? For what? Do we know what episode? It's definitely Fairy Tale.
I said gotta be Fairy Tale, as in like it should be, but let me just check.
I think so.
Jan Miles on the Television Academy Twitter, it says Jan Miles,
Jan
which
Miles.
is
excellent.
Very
Congratulations, Jan Miles. I will just take all the credit for your win. Congratulations. It was a really well edited episode. That is probably the most popular episode of that very, very strong season. Particularly if you were a fan of the Diana storyline. So, yeah, very cool. All right, well, we're going to move on now. We're almost towards the end, everybody. Like, this has gone so quickly. Laz Alonso is about to come out to present 3 categories: multicam picture editing for a comedy series, the one that I mentioned earlier with the Connors and those 2 other shows. And then we've got 2 more sound mixing categories for limited anthology or movie, or for comedy or drama series 1 hour. So I've already read out the nominees for multicam picture editing. So let me just go to the sound mixing, 2 other sound mixing categories, and then we'll talk about what we're expecting to win there. So just remind myself. So it's limited anthology and comedy or drama.
Oh, limited anthology or movie is going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah. So you've got Genius Aretha, Mayor of Easttown, The Queen's Gambit, The Underground Railroad, and WandaVision. And now this time, Mayor, Queens, and WandaVision all have 1 episode each. And they're all
WandaVision is like your action drama sort of thing. Like, it should have sound mixing written all over it. I could see them all losing to Genius Aretha, because that's your music contender, and that often is the thing. If Queen's Gambit wins here,
it's over.
It might be over. It might be over.
I think that happened with one of the guilds. It won over Watchmen, and I was like, "What?"
Oh man. Okay, yeah, this category is so exciting, because if one of those 3 top shows wins, then we're all going to start thinking very, hard about what's going to happen in limited series, particularly if Queen's Gambit can win this one again. Like, we've got a real problem here. A real problem here, I mean, for the other shows. So, and then the other category was sound mixing for comedy or drama 1 hour. Those nominees are, finally, this is the first time I get to say it, The Boys, which is where it was only ever nominated before for its first season. So it's an area where they really recognize The Boys, and that's Alexandra Furman, again, one of my buddies. Then you've got The Crown, who are another one of my interviewees. Really good work. Lee Walpole is just like genius. The stuff that he did on Fairy Tale. There's a lot of silence in that show, which you wouldn't expect to be nominated here, but it is. And Handmaid's Tale, Chicago, Lovecraft, The Sundown, and The Mandalorian for the Jedi. I would expect Mandalorian to win here, but I'm hoping The Boys might take it out. Does anyone agree?
No. I think probably Mandalorian, and then Boys and Lovecraft in a year without The Mandalorian, maybe. It feels like it's hard to top Mandalorian in techs, all things being equal, even though Lovecraft and Boys both have drama series nominations too, but although that's another one. If The Crown ends up winning that, that's going to be a really good sign. If it beats like literally 3 high-tech action shows, that's going to be a telling sign.
That's a really good point. Isn't it wonderful that we're all together, like just like geeking out over sound mixing? Like, there aren't that many people on the planet that would be doing this. Like, we're a special breed. And then we have another winner. The Connors finally wins an Emmy. Thank you. I love that show. I am not afraid or apologetic to say that I am a Roseanne super fan. Even if she's a crazy racist person, put that aside for a second because I love that show. I grew up with it. My sister and I can quote it almost every episode, and I'm very, very happy that the Conners is winning Emmys in this day and age. Congratulations on that team winning an Emmy. So now we have the Conners. Now we're waiting on the really exciting stuff. And
we've only got 7 categories left for tonight.
Yeah.
So it's 2 sound mixing, 3 sound editing, 1 more picture editing for variety, and then finally bring it back around to costumes with fantasy sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they decided to leave that one to the end, but we just do whatever we're told, eh? And all right, so then we've got...
They were saving the Lovecraft Country win for the last.
Maybe.
Actually, it could win that. Like when we get to talk about that, it has a good shot there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm curious to know what will win that one because that's another really fun category. All right, well, okay. Now, if anything but the look, let me put it this way: if Mandalorian wins sound mixing, like we would pretty much expect that. If The Boys wins, that would be a bit of a surprise because The Boys has really, I think, always been behind the 8 ball a bit with the Emmys, and I think it was lucky to even get the nominations that it did get this season. As amazing as that show is, and it's a huge hit on Amazon, I still think that is a bit of an underdog. The Crown could win. It's a quiet show. It's a drama. It's not as showy. And The Handmaid's Tale, I don't know if it's ever won sound before. You guys will have to tell me. And then Lovecraft hasn't really done very well so far. Hasn't won anything yet. So it could finally win something. Oh, it looks like the Queen's Gambit has won sound. Yep, it has. Well, guys.
Game over. It's Chernobyl. Except it could win acting, too. So
checkmate, as it were.
Okay, you just won the day, Kevin. Checkmate.
Yeah.
WandaVision for sound mixing. The chess series.
Mm-hmm.
Like that feels so like just take your ball and go home. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
I'm feeling a little bit disappointed only because we were hoping to see like that anti-superhero Marvel thing finally go away. Like, I don't know, like WandaVision was special, and to not even win some of these categories to me just feels a bit rough. I don't know. What's
interesting is that like it's not even just WandaVision. Like Mandalorian's only got 2. Last year it won 7 at Creative Arts. So it's really interesting. I wonder if maybe I can't remember how many categories they were nominated against each other in, but like maybe they're siphoning off some of each other's fan base among voters. Like if you're into the big blockbuster franchise, like which one are you gonna pick?
Yeah. Wow, I'm really surprised by that. I thought this would be one where you'd see Wanda take it out. God, what's next? Is Queen's Gambit going to win visual effects? I don't think it's probably not going on there, but I'm just saying, like, in a write-in. And then, yes, Claw 135, you're right. Do we need to be worried about Catherine Hahn? Come on.
It's a different branch. Like, the thing is, Catherine Hahn's biggest competition is Mare of Easttown, and we haven't seen strength from Mare of Easttown either. Although, again, it's not as technically showy a show, and it did win a very surprising production design award, so I wouldn't count that out. But yeah, it's hard to tell. Maybe we're underestimating Moses Ingram is the thing now.
Yeah. Sheesh. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, I think. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to get some more updates. Winner for sound mixing is The Mandalorian. So again, not a big surprise there. But congratulations to The Mandalorian. Well, I'm still getting over the Queen's Gambit, but okay, that's really cool. Congratulations to them. And I'm just trying to see Mandalorian. Yep, okay, it beat The Crown, it beat The Boys. So Mandalorian, that's 3 wins for The Mandalorian now.
So the Queen's Gambit is up to 6, Mandalorian 3, Pose 3, SNL 3, Crown 2, Ted Lasso 2.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so now we've got June, Diane Raphael, and Paul Shear to come out to present the 3 sound editing categories. So let's just read those out. No, I think there's only 3 of them. I'm just making 100% sure. Yes, okay. So the first category is comedy or drama half hour or animation. The nominees are Cobra Kai, Love, Death, Robots, Mythic Quest, Star Trek Lower Decks, and Ted Lasso. Star Trek Lower Decks is so cool. I'm so happy that I got that over here. So good. And I'm also a big fan of Cobra Kai. So I think Ted Lasso is winning this, but I'd love to hear from what you guys think.
It won mixing, so I think it'll take editing, especially because I don't see anything in here that would make me think it will. I mean, maybe Love, Death, and Robots or lower, animation, maybe, but I don't know. I think still Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Cobra Kai had won mixing, maybe, but it's still Ted Lasso still prevailed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, okay. And then let's move on to the other 2 categories just while we're waiting. Sound editing for a limited, or is that the next one, just making sure? Yes, limited anthology movie. The nominees are Fargo, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Finally, that breaks through with something that was awesome. The Queen's Gambit, that little show that we haven't really heard of yet. The Underground Railroad and WandaVision.
You would think WandaVision, but
I mean, there's still a chance for WandaVision, but if Queen won mixing, I'm gonna say it was editing too.
Yeah, gosh, can't believe it.
But like sound effects wise, I don't
surely the clock ticking is not better than all those explosions. I don't know, and the magic flourishes. All that stuff.
Passport in the sky, all that.
This is our technical term for it, right?
Yes.
The sound editing for non-fiction or reality. Again, just making sure that I have the right one. No, I don't. I don't want to read out the wrong thing. It's comedy or drama 1 hour. Okay. So I'm just trying to find that. Sorry, everybody. Half hour, and here it is. The nominees there are The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Lovecraft Country, The Mandalorian, Star Trek Discovery, and The Umbrella Academy. So, wow, that's a killer category too. I'm going to go with Mandalorian there, but I'd love to see Falcon win, or obviously Discovery, one of my fave shows.
Yeah, but I would speculate that maybe Falcon would take some support away from Mandalorian, but I really don't see the other 3 doing it either. So Mandalorian.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. All right. Well, I would love to see some surprises here. I don't know. It'd be really cool to see. I want Star Trek to win something. Come on, guys, give us something to hold on to. Jack of Hearts. I think you mentioned Bo Burnham's category. I don't think we're going to see any Bo Burnham tonight.
No, he's variety.
Picture editing.
So the last, second last category of the night. We should probably see the first. Yeah. So, okay. Well, let's just wait and see. I really want to see this.
If he won that would be deserved. But Hamilton is there, so who knows?
But Hamilton lost. I mean, Hamilton seemed like more of a bet for sound.
True.
So I would say Bo Burnham has a really good shot in editing.
Yeah. But in sound editing for a limited or anthology, it shouldn't be about the best limited series. It should be the best sound. And if you're going to go with best sound, then Haunting of Bly Manor could probably even be a contender as for a winner here, because the sound in that was incredible. When talking about editing, so we're talking about Foley and effects, not necessarily the mix. So I don't know if that's how they judge it though, when the branches end up voting on these particular categories. So it's generally not how it works. So anyway, we're just waiting now, everybody. So anyone in the comments have anything really interesting or have a question they want us to answer while we are tap dancing away? then we're happy to answer them. But in the meantime, I am just looking ahead to picture editing for variety programming, because that is what people are obviously just gagging for Bo Burnham in many ways. Variety. That's not a picture editing is not that's not a Juried award, is it? I don't think it is.
No.
No, it's got a list of nominations.
Okay, great. So here it is. Those nominees, just so we're clear, is a Black Lady sketch show for Sister May I Call You Ocean. I think that's the 3rd episode of the season. It's a really good one. Bo Burnham Inside, one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Hamilton, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Saturday Night Live, and Saturday Night Live. And they're both nominated for segments. So one's The Murder Show and one's Stew. Okay, I didn't know that they could nominate segments, but here we are.
Last Week Tonight has won this repeatedly, so it could just win by default. But if anything is gonna break that chain, like we saw Handmaid's kind of falter earlier after successive wins, it's definitely Bo Burnham's to do it.
Yeah, I don't think Last Week Tonight can hold up against Hamilton and Bo Burnham.
Yeah, it's just stronger competition.
Totally.
I'm thinking about the editing though. Like, I'm not really sure, as a layman, I'm not sure what editing in Last Week Tonight is so spectacular, because it's just like him on a screen with a little screen and then like clips. I just don't quite understand. And
we have a
Hamilton. Oh, we have a winner. Okay, great.
Yep.
So that winner
Love,
is
Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots. So,
Sound editing.
okay.
Wow.
Really interesting there. Okay.
I called it as a somewhat possibility.
Okay, great. Well, thankfully that we'll just give you the credit. It's easier that way. So yeah, when it comes to just thinking about editing again, like picture editing for variety, like when you look at Hamilton, that picture editing that's where you can honor that show, because the way that they edited the different productions, I think I'm right? They just didn't just film one and then just edit it up. I think they did a few. Is that correct?
I think it might have been a couple of shows they did. Yeah. They recorded.
And they had like close-ups and long shots, and at this stage, the way they did that was just spectacular. And then the editing in the Bo Burnham Inside, I'm not sure. Like, it's a lot of just like close-ups and long shots. The editing, I don't think, is that spectacular in Bo Burnham as much as the show itself.
I do think it's very dynamic in that, like, it's because it's a musical and it's in one space, it's covering a long period of time. There is a lot of intricacy into how that's cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Charlie Bright has just reminded me that the Oliver episode is the one with the F 2020 segment, which is actually, he's right, really well edited. So my mistake. It's not just John Oliver's talking in a one shot. There's actually stuff in here, and that's why they obviously submitted the episode. So if it wins, it'll be most likely due to that, if they're actually watching the episodes and judging them on their merit. And I say that slightly facetiously. So, okay. Well, that's coming up later. We're still waiting on the winners for, I'm going back to sound editing for Limited Anthology. Have we got that one yet? No.
Not yet, I don't think.
And sound editing for comedy drama 1 hour. So, cool. Okay.
We're down to our final four.
We're down to our final four, everybody. I'm getting excited. And then we can do a bit of a recap, and then we're done. And then tomorrow we'll have 2 shows hosted by the one, the only, the incomparable Matt Noble, and hopefully he will have more visual aids to help us all, given that we are all more visual learners.
Queen's Gambit, sound editing.
Just one sound editing. Oh my God, I'm beside myself. I
will say, like, if it's not completely game over for a limited series, I will say that this makes it between Queen's Gambit and Mare. Because I don't think WandaVision can lose all of these categories to Queen's Gambit and have a shot, especially being a show where the technical elements are so much more heavily prominent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what does that mean for lead actress? Like, does that mean Kate Winslet is not the lock favorite? Not that I'm suggesting she is, but a lot of people are predicting Kate Winslet over Anya Taylor-Joy. You know?
I think it's close. I actually think it's plausible that Queen's Gambit could win limited series and Kate still wins actress.
Same.
I agree.
Yeah, right. And what about directing? We've just been asked by Marcus in our private chat. I just think, like, yeah,
I think Queens just took directing. So. Like, with the technical showing, sort of like, again, Chernobyl a couple years ago. I think Queens. It's hard to bet against Queens for directing for me.
Yeah. And I think on night 3 or ceremony 3, I think Queens is going to be music. That's a category I'm always very keen to watch. And casting. Queens is going to be the big story out of this whole cycle. And that's not
I'm going to be very, very entertained if, like, WandaVision wins casting now.
Yeah, right?
That will be very entertaining.
We might as well just give up. Because, you know, I May Destroy You has 2 directing and 1 writing. Is that correct? Or is it the other way around?
That's right. No, you're right.
So that's why Queens has got a leg up in directing. But with writing, we could still see I May Destroy You pull that one off. And that could be its only win if it's not going to win elsewhere. And I hope it does win something because that was extraordinary. And no one seems to be talking about that.
But we do see a lot of sweeps, so I could see Queen's Gambit winning that too. Like, that's possible.
I thought Destroy You could have won costumes tonight. I thought it had an outside chance at that.
Yeah. You're right, Eric. WandaVision's nomination to win ratio is going to be devastating this week. I feel like I'm in mourning a little. What's wrong with me? I'm being honest. I'm just being really transparent about how I feel about this. And I didn't expect to feel so disappointed, but I really thought WandaVision was going to be a big story from tonight. And it was one of the reasons why I asked to host this particular show, because I had a feeling Wanda was going to be a big story, and it's just really disappointing. I feel really bad for that whole team right now.
Well, to be fair, you are still ahead of Lovecraft Country.
Because that's your thing, right? You love that show.
Yeah. And honestly, I just want, because I was not expecting Lovecraft Country to be a big thing.
Daniel, speaking of Lovecraft Country,
did it win sound editing?
It just won.
Yeah.
Yay!
It's on the board.
Oh. And I'm actually excited that voters differentiated between the picture, the sound mixing and sound editing in both cases.
Wow.
What a cool.
So you know what? I'm good to go. Like, whatever happens, Lovecraft Country is an Emmy-winning show. Sometimes that's all I ask.
Yeah,
and
true.
Both sound editing awards went to love shows. So you had Lovecraft Country and Love, Death, and Robots.
Oh, very nice. Looks like there's a blog item in that. No, I'm kidding. So now we've got 2 more categories for the night being announced by the one and only Marlee Matlin, star of Coda, who maybe we'll see her at the Oscars. We've gone through the nominees for picture editing for variety, and we're hoping that Bo Burnham may win over John Oliver. But then we've got costumes for fantasy, and I'm just going to pull them up because that is the big category of the night, apparently. And those nominees are Handmaid's Tale, Lovecraft Country, The Mandalorian, The Umbrella Academy, and WandaVision. Now, if WandaVision can't win that,
honestly, I don't think it's as strong here as I would have thought it in a couple other categories that it lost. Because that's the first episode. It's really doing just kind of a 50s sitcom pastiche sort of thing.
Yeah.
Compared to the costume work in, like I said before, Lovecraft Country might be the most costumes in this category because the episode they're nominated for spans about 300-400 years in the timeline from 50s to the 1920s or something to the 18th, 19th century to hundreds of years into the future, and costumes for multiple group scenes and eras and locales. I did interview this costume designer too, so I paid close attention to these costumes when preparing for that. It's an extraordinary costuming achievement, and
It really is.
From the merit of just the costumes, it's hard for me to see any of these measuring up to it. But again, it's not always that case at the Emmys. So I will say, could be Handmaids, could be Mandalorian, could be WandaVision. Sorry, Umbrella Academy, probably not. I love Umbrella Academy being here, but
yeah. Handmaid's Tale is always nominated in costumes. It didn't win when it should have. For Anne Crabtree, like she was the one that came up with these iconic designs that we see at the Texas Supreme Court and so forth. She didn't win, but then it ended up winning for season 3, I think. So I don't know if it's got a chance here again. Lovecraft, I mean, I didn't really like that show. It didn't work for me, but I totally can see why the costumes should be winning here. They're amazing. Mandalorian's the same. Umbrella Academy, brilliant, but WandaVision, like, surely, come on. It's not only the sci-fi stuff with the Agatha costume, but it's also like this beautiful work they did in all those sitcoms. I don't think the Vision stuff is really,
it's only nominated for the one episode though, and it's just the first one. You don't really get all the good Agatha stuff.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So, I mean, if it loses, it could be because of that. So, all right, well, we're waiting on the Bow thing because who knew that our chat room was going to be full of Bow fans, but here we are.
Honestly, not too surprised.
I don't blame you.
Welcome to the internet, as Bo would say.
Welcome to the internet. And when I'm done here, I'm going to FaceTime with my mom, and then, I'll do some sexting, and then I'll look at a white woman's Instagram. So, okay, we're waiting with bated breath for Marley Matlin to tell us who is going to win these last 2 categories. If it's not Bo Burnham inside, please, everybody, just calm down. It's okay. The editing wasn't necessarily the highlight of
Oh, my God.
Bing.
Black Lady Sketch Show.
A Black Lady
Sketch Show.
Black Lady. Okay.
And Bo Burnham fans, he has literally 5 other chances tomorrow. So
and so I must just remind you, as I was saying, it's not the highlight of that show. Okay, this is not an omen. Black Lady Sketch Show is really the most kind of single cam, cinematic, so to speak, show maybe in that group, and it also did really well with nominations this year. It's gone up, and so congratulations to Robin Thede and to she didn't win this, but her whole team. They're all going to be very, very excited because that show's really become such a player.
They're the first Black women female editing team to be nominated and now winning.
That's so cool. That is so wonderful. Really, really excited about that. Congratulations to a Black Lady Sketch Show. We've got one more award, everybody. It's any minute now. We're going to... I don't know what to tell you, but look,
I'm betting on Lovecraft. I'm just betting on Love because I feel like if it won sound editing, that means voters are actually paying attention to it. I mean, it's different group of voters. It's different branch, but it feels like the most costumes in the category. Yeah,
it's so exciting. Well, and then we'll have beaten WandaVision in the totals. So,
wow,
amazing!
Wow, I would not have bet on that coming in.
Yeah.
This is actually quite a surprising. Like, I wouldn't say any one win or any one loss for WandaVision is like overwhelmingly shocking, but just the preponderance of it all, especially like not able to win a sound award, it's very surprising.
Yeah, and because we've been saying this all night, tongue in cheek, Mayas Rubio, one of my interviewees, so I frankly want to take all the credit because I'm a narcissist, malignant narcissist. So, hopefully she'll win. Okay. Well, we're just waiting. I'm just kind of like lost for words with some of these surprises.
Chris Beecham is typing.
He's typing. I can see him typing. So I'm very excited. Come on, who is it? And then we'll do a little tally. Okay. Okay. So, that's a good point, Chris. Chris has just said, this may be wrong, but Queen's Gambit has won the same number of Creative Arts Emmys that Chernobyl won at this stage, and that didn't help Jared
I
Harris.
believe that's true because Chernobyl won 10 total, and at the main telecast, it only won series, writing, and directing. So it would have had to win 7 at the And they both have the similar problem in that Anya Taylor-Joy is a very quiet.
WandaVision.
Oh,
Yes.
well, okay.
Hey,
Okay. I can live with it.
If it's not winning that, we might as well just pack up and go home. Congratulations, Mayos Rabea. You deserve that win. But of course, commiserations to the other 4 nominees because they're all really great. WandaVision wins 2 of the night. Costumes and production design. I think WandaVision's in a bit of trouble. I think we all acknowledge that.
Yeah.
The big winner of the night is Queen's Gambit with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Emmys, people. That's incredible. Wow.
That is more than double the next most awarded show, which is a 3-way tie. It's Mandalorian, Pose, and Saturday Night Live won 3 apiece.
That's right. And then behind that, you've got WandaVision, Ted Lasso,
The Crown.
With The Crown with 2.
Yeah, that's everything that has 2.
Yeah, and then everything else has got a single win.
Yeah, a single win for American Utopia, Black Lady Sketch Show, Bridgerton, The Conners, Country Comfort, The Good Lord Bird, Love, Death, and Robots, Lovecraft Country, Mayor of Easttown, the Oscars, and Space Explorers.
And so things that didn't win anything.
The Juried Awards.
Of course. And then big shows that didn't win anything so far is Hacks. Sorry, Dave. And on the I May Destroy You. The Boys didn't win anything.
No, Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale's got nothing so far to show for their huge haul.
No Drag Race either, right?
No Drag Race. No Drag Race. So, yeah, Matt, you're right. I think everyone's going to jump on the Queen's Gambit bandwagon for next week. This is what happens every year. We always see this. We try to use the Creative Arts Emmys as like the tea leaves and the harbinger. And I don't know if it's necessarily the case sometimes because in the year that The Handmaid's Tale won for season 1, people were screaming at me. It was all going to be Stranger Things, and that didn't pan out. So let's just wait and see what happens tomorrow.
It's really tricky because sometimes the creative arts really do show you what's going to happen, like Chernobyl. Other times you have a show that's really technically beloved, that doesn't really have it in the top category, like Boardwalk Empire did that to us a couple times. And of course the Mandalorian last year, winning 7 at Creative Arts, although I don't think people were switching to that for drama series,
no,
for that. But in a close race like this, and not just the fact that it won 7, but the 7 it won and the competition it won against in some of these categories, that's telling. Like, you look at not only the totals, but what did a show win that you wouldn't think it should have won, and what did a show lose that you wouldn't think it should have lost? So
yeah, amazing, really amazing. I did not see that coming, and that's a good thing because I love surprises. I always do, the good ones. All right, well, does anyone have anything to wrap up? I think we could probably finish up for tonight for you guys, today for me. It's been really enjoyable. We don't get to watch the show live, which is really unfortunate. I wish they'd show it and stream it, but here we are. Yeah, I think we can just wait and see what happens tomorrow. But on September 12, we've got 2 shows, one at 1 p.m., one at 5 p.m. Pacific. Matt Noble will be hosting those. They're going to be way more entertaining than me hosting, but that's okay. But unfortunately, you will not get these 3 guys because they're so amazing. But, we're just going to have to deal with the other people on the show. We'll have a whole range of different Gold Derby personalities joining to take you through the winners and to talk about what's going to happen. And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your great comments and your support. We love doing this, and we love hanging out with all of you fellow nerds. So good night, good luck on your predictions, and we'll see you again tomorrow.